What's good, y'all? My name is Dylan Green, and this is Real Notes, a space dedicated to blurring the cultural and artistic lines between rap and film. I'm here to chop it up with everyone from rappers and producers to journalists and video directors about their relationship to movies and how, if at all, film inspires their craft. My guests this week are Atlanta-based journalist and author Yoh Phillips and New Orleans-based filmmaker and musician Holland Gallagher, creators of the rap documentary series Rap Portraits. We talked about Andy Warhol, how director Bong Joon-Ho is like Freddie Gibbs, album rollouts, Tyler the Creator, the Migos, film school, learning their jobs on the fly, Holland's web series Hype, the creative process behind Rap Portraits, and whether or not we've entered a new rap blog era. Come fuck with us.
Holland doesn't cut the camera off at all because he knows I can't.
Yeah, I know
miss
how it is.
anything.
On the other
You're
side.
smart.
Yeah,
You're
gotta
smart. See, you're smart as shit. I'm not smart. I'm sleep deprived, and
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah, you've been on fire, Dylan.
I'm trying, man. I'm trying.
I like the mic too. That's cool.
Yeah, this is
Thank
a very
you.
professional situation.
Yeah, no. This is a real podcast.
This is Desiree. Shout out to Desiree. She's
Des.
I knew this was good. Or like I knew this was gonna happen, and then she was like, she just got me a mic for Christmas, and I was like, wow, thank you. So yeah, she really hooked me up.
Empowering friends. That's what we like to say.
That's what we love to do.
Yeah.
Always, man.
I got Yoh a camera for his birthday, like a little handheld camcorder for his birthday. He's been
I've been shooting everything.
shooting literally everything.
What kind?
Like a Sony,
like a
kind
Sony
of
hand
nostalgic hand cam.
Oh, yeah.
60.
With the flip screen and shit.
Yeah.
Ooh, the good shit. The good shit.
Yeah.
Good shit, bro. I'm about to make all these Warhol films.
So,
I'm about to be the next Andy Warhol. It's not even a game.
so you mentioned Warhol. Tell me who you're gonna film sleeping for 33 minutes.
Oh, really? Rihanna? Bro, that would be a hit. Rihanna sleeping for 33 minutes.
That would be more popular than any rap portrait we could ever do. Probably.
Honestly,
It'll be the biggest music video of all time.
Yeah.
Watch me do it too. Watch me see Rihanna and be like, I just need you to sleep for 33 minutes.
Yeah, it's like no one in the room. Just put it on the put it on the tripod. Leave.
I hope she gets like an award for this. Like her acting's top tier. Like no one's ever slept the way Rihanna slept. That's what I want.
That would be high art, dude.
Yes, it is high art. Yeah. Rihanna sleeping is high art.
Honestly,
that's why I'm about to be Warhol.
It's got to be. She's got to be wearing some Fenty, and then like,
come on, you see the feeling?
Does Rocky still make clothes?
Doesn't matter.
Okay, yeah. It doesn't matter. He's right. It doesn't matter. It's just... Oh, I was gonna ask another question. I can't even remember what it was. Shit. It was fucking Warhol. Oh yeah. There was some other shit. I don't know if this is real or not. Like it might have been a joke I was making with some people, but somebody told me about like there's this Daniel Day-Lewis video somewhere where he's just like they just filmed him sitting on a stool for like an hour and 20 minutes and just like staring at a screen, right? And then I think like halfway through he takes a pull from a cigarette and just looks into the camera and says, I'm Daniel Day-Lewis. And that's all the talking he does in the whole movie. Or
Who
some
makes
shit.
it? What is it?
I don't know.
Do you know anything
like,
more than that?
It might not be real. I just remember the
Like,
story's
like
just in,
yeah.
honestly, it's just in my head for some, I don't know why, but it's just in my head for some reason. And I never stopped thinking about that.
That's like the Shia LaBeouf filming himself watching like his whole catalog in that theater.
Yeah.
You know about that? Yeah.
Yeah, that happened at a theater in the city. That was I think that was at the Angelica. Yeah, I think I was at that specific screen once. I think I saw a movie there once. Damn.
Was it all of Shia LaBeouf's filmography back to back? Because I think that you might have been in the theater with him then.
It had nothing to do with Shia LaBeouf. This might have been years before.
I remember that. I wanted to say the thing that you remember. It's so funny that it doesn't have to be complex. It can be extremely simple. It could be just someone staring at a camera and saying their name one time, and that sticks with you. Versus like a 2-hour film where you got all these explosions, you got all these monsters, you got all these dragons. It's the extras. It's cool. Yeah. It's definitely like riveting, but sometimes simplicity can be compelling. The most compelling.
You bring out of the theater with you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you carry that thing home.
Yeah.
I feel like that's what
Nah.
we're trying to do with Rap Portraits.
Yeah,
We're not
do
trying to
something
be
that you bring home with
like
you.
the
Yeah.
blockbuster. We're just trying to make sure you take us home.
See,
Wow, that
and
turned
that's
into an ad so fast.
I'm
That
a
turned into a
commercial.
self-plug in a matter of
That's how you had me, Holland.
bro, literally everything is advertising. Like talking is advertising for our brains.
Oh my god!
wow.
That's
You're
a
selling
bar.
yourself
That's
at
a
all times.
bar. You just
Like,
sold
To your
brand,
friends. Yeah.
I heard I heard a thing from somebody that I interviewed who I'm not gonna say. Well, actually, no. I think it'll be out. I think this will be out by the point this comes out. I was talking to Vano 3000 for the Vice piece, and he ended our interview by saying, "Shit's deep, but it doesn't have to be complicated." And that's what that reminded me
Oh,
of. And
yeah.
it's just like, I've never heard no shit like that in my life, and I was like, "Yo, you really just fucked me up." Like,
I'm on that type of time for real.
yeah,
Big time.
honestly.
Yeah.
It's another thing where it's on the same note in this David Mamet speech, where he's talking about how like the music of the 80s is really like big and it's like sort of over grandiose. And then he's talking about how it's like a lot of stuff that doesn't really say anything. Whereas like Billie Holiday doesn't do very much, but like everything she does is like brilliant.
Yeah.
Same thing. Same idea.
Yeah, and it's really like it's really just about like choosing when you want to speak and what you want to say, because you know, like rest in peace Doom. This is the first time I've talked about Doom on this podcast, and I'm upset at myself. Rest in peace Doom. He had one tweet his entire life. It just said Doom is not on Twitter. That's it. And like that, I don't know, like it speaks volumes about the type of person that he is. And you look at somebody like Frank, when Frank had Twitter, he didn't really tweet very often. Vince doesn't tweet very often, and when he does come back, it's Vince Staples rather. When he comes back, it's to promote something, or like he's like building up hype, like, hey, I'm back for 2 weeks, boom, single, boom, album, like.
Yeah, only doing what's essential.
Right. And essential is cool sometimes. We don't need the extra shit all the time. Sometimes it depends on who you are. Like extra shit is cool depending on who you are, but not everybody needs it. Like.
True. It doesn't have to be like a requisite to being an artist.
And I think you got to find balance. I remember being in Miami for Rolling Loud, and Gucci brought all his cars to Rolling Loud for no reason. It's just a parking lot full of cars. And I remember looking at it, just being amazed that he did it. And then he just packed them up and went home. It was like, it wasn't for like a music video. It wasn't for anything else. It was just like, I'm Gucci Mane, and I take my cars with me everywhere I go. And I loved it because it was simple, it was loud, but it was him. Like if extra is you, then be extra. Just be you. If you're not extra, then don't try and be extra thinking you gotta keep up with Gucci Mane, because there's no way you're gonna take all your cards and roll loud. You're just not gonna do it.
Right. It's like DMX. DMX took his dogs everywhere. Like that's just him, you know? Like exactly. Also rest in peace to X. Second time I've had to say that. Very sad. We miss you. Honestly.
You, man. That was so sad. And 2 points about both of those guys. One, Doom traveled. Like his name traveled, his music traveled. He wasn't on the radio. I'd never heard Doom on the radio, ever.
Me either. Not once.
In my life. But boy, I can tell you, even before he died, I saw him everywhere. I saw action figures, I saw music videos, I saw songs. You know, me and Playboy Cardi talked about Doom when I interviewed him. It was amazing to see somebody be so underground and be so major at the same time. Same thing with X. X was major, but it wasn't like he was major his entire career. Like he hit a certain height very early on, but we never forgot him. He stuck with us his entire, like the span of his career, he was with us the entire time. We never forgot X. And even when he passed, you could feel it, that like this is somebody that we were never going to forget. It's somebody that like meant a lot to all of us. And I believe that artists who do that, they really do last forever. Like you can, if people can take you home, they'll always keep you, for sure.
Yeah, and yeah, X left it all out on the table, like he really did. And like Doom didn't, not really. Like we didn't really know much about him outside of like the things that he wanted us to know. But we still took him home. Like he gave us a thing to take home. It just wasn't him. I mean, I guess it was him, but like not. It's weird. He was more of a symbol, and X was a person. You know, like
X didn't wear a mask. Doom wore a mask. We weren't supposed to see him, and he made sure we didn't see him but he gave us enough where we felt him. X
Right.
wanted you to see and feel him. It was in his voice, like it was in his lyrics, it was in the way he moved. Everything about X was physical. Everything about Doom was elusive. Like Doom was just crafty.
But he was trying to say something though. He had something to say. It's like in a similar way to Frank, where he only comes out and he says what he's trying to say, and then he goes away. It's like either you got to be a person that has something to say, or like with X, you have to be a person like that with some like where you're trying to be somebody. Like say something or be something.
Absolutely.
Right.
But don't, yeah, as long as it's you though, you know.
It's got to be you.
Yeah.
It has to be.
Always. Y'all, before we really get this started, y'all ever hear the story about how Tyler saw Doom's face? Tyler, the creator?
No, what's that story?
So long story short, they Tyler that clip of Tyler and Earl watching Doom play the festival in Europe. There's a whole video behind that. Like they did like an Earl Wolf show, and they and as soon as they finished, they ran off to go see Doom play. And actually my fan is on. I gotta turn this off. So Doom was playing at this festival in Europe, and Doom and Tyler meet. Doom calls him T Boogie, and it freaks him out because he didn't know that all of OF at the time called him T, so he just called him T Boogie, and they were all like, he called you T Boogie. And apparently like Tyler was just like hanging out backstage at the right time, and Doom poked his head out of his room, and it was Daniel Dumoulin without the mask on. It's just his head just like there. And I think Narwhal asked Earl about it, and he was like, nah, I missed it, but Tyler saw Doom's face like in the physical. Wow. And then like before we knew it, it was over, and that was it. He had that one split second chance, and then that was it. And then Tyler's seen Doom's face. Like that's crazy.
I feel like that. I'm with Holland. Something special about seeing
he's
Doom's
been touched.
face.
That's why he got everything he got.
Because like if Earl saw Doom's face, it would be different. He didn't see it. Only Tyler saw it, and then he made Earthquake.
Yeah. And Lumberjack, the new shit that came out today is crazy.
I haven't heard it yet. Is it crazy?
Oh, it's crazy. He's got DJ Drama he got Drama on the song.
It reminded me of like some old Cool Kids tapes.
Yeah.
Running back to the beginning type shit. Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah. The other thing I saw, I'm sorry to cut you off. The other things I saw him, a lot of people were talking about In My Mind, the prequel, like the Pharrell drama tape. Like that was the one that I saw everybody can be like, he's on that type of time. It's going to be crazy. I can't wait.
Oh man, I can't believe Tyler Creator's career is going the way he's going right now.
Yeah, me either. I
thought after Cherry Bomb, not that he had peaked, but I thought he had made a decision to be underground. Like I didn't think he was going to go hyper major. And now he's just, to me, he's going to be one of the biggest artists of this decade. Of the
for sure.
20s. Yeah, Tyler the Creator's going to come out and be like the star.
He sold out. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off. He sold out MSG last year. Like end of sentence. Like he's out of here. He's out of here. Like,
and his music is not like overtly pop either. Like he's really doing it his way too. It's
exactly
real cool.
Yeah.
Shit.
Like he's really getting like it's so weird. Like there's really nothing out there like it. Like nothing out there like what he does, and it's cool. I always love that about him. Shout out to Tyler. Always. Damn, we've already been talking for like 10 minutes. This is always so great to see. What's cracking, everybody? Fuck it. I'm not even gonna do the stupid first part of the intro shit. Welcome back to Real Notes. I think this is number 15 we got. Yeah, I always forget the numbers. I don't know why I forget the numbers, but this is number 15. I'm Dylan, CineMasai. I got a lot of names, 2 of them. I'm fun like that sometimes. Every guest on the show is incredibly special, but these 2 are just all over the place all the time and are very near and dear to my heart. One of these men is a critically acclaimed rap journalist and notorious picture dodger who's written for everyone from DJ Booth and Passion of the Weiss to Complex and Rolling Stone. He's been all over the map. This other man is a filmmaker from New Orleans and North Carolina with a handful of tight projects under his belt, including Hype, which is executive produced by Fonte. Everyone go watch Hype. It's crazy. And Hoop Portraits, which is a documentary series following up and coming basketball players. These two men came together and formed the rap documentary Voltron with Rap Portraits, which has been going since I want to say like last January, right?
Mm-hmm.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Rap Portraits has been going strong for about a year and a half, and it's only going to get bigger from here. They have a newsletter now, and they follow up and coming rappers. They've done Mavi and Chris Patrick and Tia Kareen and tons of other people that you're going to be talking about in a year or two, because we're here. We got Yoh Phillips and Holland Gallagher in the place to be. I'm so excited. Thank y'all so much for coming on my shit. I appreciate it so much.
What you didn't mention about my filmography is that I'm also on a quest to take pictures of Yoh and put them on the internet. So I'm working on that project as well. It's going pretty well.
He's made it like a life mission, bro.
There's more pictures of Yoh on my Instagram than elsewhere on the internet.
Anywhere else. If you want to find me, go to Holland's Instagram. This is the only place you can see me.
Or mine.
Dylan's also working on the project with me.
Yeah.
It's terrible that I make my friends take pictures of me because I won't do it. I really won't. Dylan, that was an amazing intro. Thank you so much. That was
of course.
That was the first time we actually had like an intro for me and Holland. Like
it's true. This is probably our first
podcast
that we've done together. Yeah.
Wow.
I like this. Yes. I was so happy when you hit us up because I just love doing things with Holland. Anytime I get a chance to collaborate with him, I'm more than willing to do it.
And you.
Yeah, Dylan, we love you.
I love y'all, man. Thank you. Like, nah, man, this is like, I've been wanting to do something like this ever since Rap Portraits first got off the ground. So like to do it here on like a platform that like we both own ourselves, like
perfect timing.
We out here, son. I'm so happy for this.
And I remember when this idea was just a conversation. Because we talked about the podcast. Like we had a discussion about it. You told me what the idea was. And I was like, oh, this is cool. Like this is a very cool idea. And to see you produce it has been amazing in itself. Like I love when you just take something and you run it all the way through. I feel like you definitely follow through really well with ideas. And it's been amazing to watch your growth, bro. For real.
Man, no, thank you. That was so much. It's been amazing to see your growth, yo. Obviously, like we've been talking a whole bunch the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
And Holland too. Like just like I'm so mad we didn't get to meet at the Mavi show last year, but like
yes, you were there.
I know I was there.
You were there for the first Rap Portrait.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I was in the building. Like I
got the shirt on right now.
Man,
like I got the right now, bro.
Damn, son, I have my shirt at home. Yeah, I'm never letting that one go. That was such an amazing night. Yeah, like
I cannot believe you were there. So you were there for the very first Rap Portrait. I feel like that night was very special for every person in that room or anyone that was around Mavi. It's special, bro. It's really special. He was a special kid.
Yeah, man, I can't wait for Shango. Shango's gonna be nuts. I don't even know what it sounds like yet, but it's just he's different. Mavi's different.
On the drive up to New Orleans, I was playing Let the Sun Talk, and I was like, man, Mavi raps like a demigod trapped in the kid's body.
Yeah.
It's just like you've been locked in this little body. He's just trying to get out. He has all of this big energy and he's so tiny.
Yeah.
It's like fire, but like you're just a nice kid. But nah, man, like whenever him on beats is really something special. I just think the way he hits pockets, the way his voice moves, like everything about his lyricism is just, I think it's exceptional. I think he's an exceptional rapper who's only getting better.
Yeah, man. It's really like it's incantations. That's really the only way I've ever been able to describe his shit. It's just incantations. I can't even. Shout out to Mavi.
So young,
right?
So young. He's like 20.
Yeah,
he's like 20, 21. Like I
get smarter every time I talk to him. Like he'll tell me stuff that I'm just like, where'd you pick this up at, bro? Like, what school did you go to? Can I join?
So that's too real. So I want to start this episode off a little differently, like not too much differently, but I'm just
can we just keep complimenting each other for like 30 or 45 more minutes?
Yeah,
totally. Totally. Look at fucking Holland's nose ring, son.
Right?
It's the
Like,
best. Holland's nose ring looks great.
you
Y'all
see
can't
the
see it, but he's got a
blonde,
great
bro?
nose ring.
Do you see the blonde? Bro, when he went blonde, I knew it was over. I was like, oh, it's Holland summer.
I'm sorry, Dylan. Run your podcast. This is your podcast.
This is not a takeover.
Nah. Nah, I'm having too much fun already. So we're starting off with a slightly different question this time, and it's one that I usually save for the end, or at least I have for the last like two. So what's the last movie or show that y'all both watched, either by yourselves or together, and that you had strong feelings about? It could be good or bad, whatever the fuck. Like strong feelings.
Hold on.
Well, earlier today something that we collectively watched recently enough is this documentary called, I don't remember the name of it, but it's Z-Boys is in the title. Yeah. It's about like the inception of skateboarding.
Ooh, cool.
Yeah, in like Venice. And they made a narrative film about it called Lords of Dogtown, which has like Heath Ledger and Emile Hirsch. If you've seen that,
yeah, I've seen Lords of Dogtown. Good shit.
I thought was awesome. So we were talking about that earlier today, which is a pretty cool thing. Just thinking a lot about being like kind of early in a specific scene, especially with respect to the type of stuff that we try to do, which is kind of like be in the scene, be of the scene, and kind of like document it in a little bit of a dirtier behind the scenes kind of a way. So that's something that I can speak of that we've both seen recently. And then you got one, Yoh, that you alone saw?
To piggyback off of that real fast, when Holland came to Atlanta to do a rap portrait that we haven't announced yet, so I'm not going to talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
But we caught a flat tire after doing the shoot, and it was an odd flat tire. Like we didn't have a spare, so we couldn't change it. So we had to wait for someone to come bring us a tire. And he pulls out a skateboard. So he starts like telling me how he's been skateboarding and he's really getting into it, X, Y, Z. So fast forward, we're in New Orleans, we're talking about the Z-Boys. I didn't know he saw that documentary. Like I saw it years ago. I saw it maybe like 4 or 5 years ago, like a long time ago. And he just brought it up and I was like, this sounds like the Z-Boys. So it's a great skate doc. Like I feel like if you're into skateboarding or you're in a Tony Hawk Pro Skater, like any kind of like cultural interest in skating, you gotta watch that doc because it's just going to fill you with so much appreciation for skateboarding. And I think we both have that now. I don't skate. I got on his board once. He got a video of it.
I got a video of it.
But
so we have a skate. We got a mixtape of Yoh skating down the
Let's go.
I'll be a skateboarder before I'm a rapper, for sure. I'll make that jump. I'll hit a half pipe before I jump into a booth. But
damn, wow.
Bro, I am not a rapper. But movies, 400 blows, bro. I think we talked about that before. I got into French cinema.
Old school.
New wave, I think 1959.
Oh,
Black and white. Amazing movie. And I was watching it in the background for something. I was working on a piece. I had it play in the background. And within the first 10 to 15 minutes, I stopped working. I just started watching. I didn't stop watching until the very end. And it just follows this kid through his adolescence and him just kind of being a little bit a rebellious 12-year-old. And he's just, him and his parents aren't clicking. You can just tell he's coming of age. But the way they do it was so excellent. I don't think I've ever seen someone take me through someone's story and make me feel something for a character who was not like a good person. He wasn't a good guy. But by the end of it, you're just like, I want to know what happens to this kid. And it gives me what we want to do with rap portraits is that by the end of it, I don't necessarily need you to be like, I want to download all their music. Oh, I want to go to the next concert. I just want you to know what happens next is what I care about. Because if I can make you feel what happens next, then you'll follow them until you feel satisfied. And that's the only thing that we're trying to do. We're trying to satisfy this need to give people something of interest.
Right.
Sound of Metal is my favorite thing that I've watched recently.
Still haven't seen it. I'm gonna fix that this weekend, or maybe not this weekend, but like at some point because I really want to. I love I love Riz Ahmed. He's great.
Yeah, watch it immediately. Fantastic. I won't
yeah.
say anything about it until you've seen it, but highly recommended on this side.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Is it new?
Yeah.
Last year.
Last year.
Yeah, it got nominated for Best Picture at the Oscars, right? Even though like nobody gives a shit about the Oscars anymore, but
I think it did. It got that indie validation.
Right.
There was a lot of cool movies that got nominated for an Oscar last year because none of the like blockbuster movies came out because they couldn't get the return on the bread. So
Yeah,
got
right.
replaced with kind of cool indie movies. Yeah, Nomadland was in there.
Right. Nomad. Yeah, and I saw Nomadland and I liked it. I didn't love it, but I liked it. I know Minari got nominated too, which I haven't seen that either. But
Yeah, I haven't seen that. Oh, my roommate's seen it. I was gonna holler at him.
Before we move on, I wanted to jump on 400 Blows because I haven't seen it since I was in film school back almost a decade ago.
Dylan,
But
cool.
I went to SUNY Purchase,
Cool.
upstate New York, or not upstate, right outside of New York also, but like
Did
on
you
the
like
other
that
side.
experience?
It was fun. And like I wouldn't even call it like I was a cinema studies major. I wasn't like a film major, but I was like I basically went to like learn about the history of film and like make a few things here. But I didn't really even make anything. I wanted to be a film critic at that time. And I just, I had a great time. Just like it really just confirmed that I knew what I wanted to do, which was just write about everything, but especially music or especially movies and then eventually music. And I really enjoyed it. I had more fun running around in see-through Jason masks at parties than I did in classes most of the time. But like, it was still a good time. Purchase was awesome. I still talk to a lot of those people to this day. Shout out to Connor. Shout out to Elise. I think they're listening right now. Maybe. I hope so. But yeah, Adam, everybody. Shout out to all my Purchase family, all my Nerf people.
Cool. I didn't go. So I always ask people what their experience was like.
I wish I went to film school.
I know, man.
That sounds fun. I feel like that's what I'm doing now. Watching movies is just going to film school.
Yeah. Honestly, yeah. like honestly, like watching stuff and then like doing research on it and like coming away with the stuff that you just came like that's basically it. That's like, or at least like cinema studies school is that. Film school is something else entirely.
But like cinema study is exactly where I'm in my life right now. But what were you gonna say about 400 Blows?
It's tight and everyone should watch it because it's on HBO Max because the Criterion Collection is on there, and go do that because culture or something.
Culture.
The whole Criterion Collection is on HBO Max right now.
Almost all of it.
That's what I saw that. Yeah.
Almost all of it. Yeah.
Why do I pay for the Criterion channel then?
No,
I think they have exclusives. I don't remember. I don't remember. There's a reason. Like they do stuff. They have like exclusives or something. Like they might have some of like the newer joints. Like I just bought Parasite, the Blu-ray of Parasite on the Criterion Collection. So like that's not going to be on HBO Max. Even though I think it's a
great movie,
great one,
amazing, so amazing. Like Bong Joon-Ho deserves. I think I just said his name wrong. He deserves every award and more. He's been grinding for like 15 years, more than 15 years. Like. Yeah. Fucking the host and shit and Mother and the host Mother, was it Mother?
It's not Mother, but it's Train, the one with the train, Snowpiercer.
Yeah, Snowpiercer.
Yeah.
No, he definitely made a movie. Was it called Mother?
Memories of a Murder.
Damn.
Does he also have a movie called Mother? It's not that like freaky Jennifer Lawrence one.
Though. No, yeah. Definitely not that one. Yeah, he has a movie called Mother too from 2009.
Is he the Freddie Gibbs of cinema?
Wow.
In what sense?
That's what this podcast is all about.
Well,
right
because
you already
15 years to break through.
Mm-hmm.
That's what Freddie like. It took him a longer journey to get to the Grammys, but when he got there, he was so developed. He had a style, he had a voice, he had production. Like he was able to build his worlds way more precise and concise because he had all that training. I feel like if you take the longer route to break through, by the time you get there, you're completely developed. You don't need any development anymore. And when I saw Parasite, I was like, oh, this is a complete thought. But his storytelling's impeccable. Yeah. And I just feel like that's from all the years of grinding it out.
And it's crazy because he was already so fully developed before all of that too. Like Mother is crazy, Snowpiercer's crazy, and he almost like the release of Snowpiercer got fucked up because of the whole Harvey Weinstein thing. Like Harvey Weinstein wanted him to cut part of the movie, and he was like, "Fuck you, I'm not doing it." So they blueballed him, and they kind of like cut out a lot of Snowpiercer's like publicity, and I think it was going to be up for awards, and they were like, "No." So like So like you could even go further with the Freddie comparison, because like Freddie also had a whole bunch of deals fall through and a whole bunch of other shit. So, you know,
When I
that's
talk to Dylan,
you're onto
I
something.
just throw ideas at the hoop and he dunks them. Like that's how I know I can just trust Dylan, because he's gonna be like, oh yeah, let me show you how that makes sense.
There's gonna be like 4 or 5 articles that are gonna come.
Yeah, from
out of this podcast.
Oh my god.
We create good ideas.
Man,
That's it.
yeah.
We create good ideas.
Man, we all do. Yeah, for real. Like y'all are already inspiring me so much, and this has been we're not even 5 questions in, and this is already damn.
Yeah, right. All right, let's keep going.
So okay, so now I'm gonna ask the what used to be the first question. What's the first movie experience you can remember having? It could be at your cousin's house, at the theater, wherever. Like the first time you consciously remember consuming a movie. What was that like?
Can I go first?
Yeah, of course.
Mufasa dying.
Okay.
Mufasa died in Lion King. I don't know what year Lion King came out. I had to be between 5 and 7. And for whatever reason, that stuck with me. Seeing, like, I can visibly see that moment in my mind 24/7. I can reference Lion King and everything because it just feels so real to whatever I was doing. Like as a kid, like every scene of that movie stuck with me. Every song, every moment. It was colorful. It was fun. It was dangerous. It was about hierarchy. It was about class. It was about coming of age. Like Lion King's about everything. It's about life.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, my parents took us to see it. I'm pretty sure they took me, my brothers, my cousins, and just stuck with me, man. I can't tell you. We probably at AMC on the South Side, and it was just the movie. Like I'm always trying to make Lion King. At the end of the day, that's the movie I'm always trying to make.
Yeah, I feel it. That was the first movie I ever saw in a theater too, so I get it. Like that was just very crazy, really quick story. I was my dad and I were driving somewhere. Must have been like a month ago, and we were coming home. I forget where it was. Dad, if you're listening, remind me later because I don't remember where we were coming from. But we were in Millburn, New Jersey, which is the first theater I ever went to as a kid. And he had been trying to remember where it was and what it was called. And we drove past it and he was like, Dylan, there it is. And I looked at it and I was like, wow. Because I hadn't been there since I saw that movie, or at least I can't remember. But yeah, so like Lion King is also extremely important to me for that reason. So I feel it.
Love it.
I think likewise, Lion King was the first movie that I saw too. Surprisingly. I don't really remember it though. I've just been told that was my first movie. I'm gonna go a little later in my life, and the first movie I can really remember being in a theater and like having a thrilling experience for was when I was in middle school and we like snuck in to watch Superbad, like the rated R kind of thing, and it was just so goddamn funny. And like I still really love Superbad and watch it to this day, and it's actually like a really excellent like masterclass in screenwriting for like a Hollywood movie, because like the goal was very clear and it's like they're just trying to get alcohol to this party and the whole movie is kind of about that one thing and then hijinks ensues. But it's really the way my mind works. I always try to make a movie about too many things, and you know that's a movie about 2 dudes trying to get alcohol to a party,
like 3 dudes really,
and then in the end it's about friendship. But you know what I mean, like make a story about one thing and then it'll be about the other things, you know, after that. That's I kind of still think about Superbad sometimes when I'm writing scripts.
To piggyback off Holland,
right?
I love Superbad. I thought the movie's ridiculous, but I went to it wasn't Superbad. It was a screening of Project X. That movie?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's another one of those like house party turn up films, but they were having a Pusha T concert after the film. It was a screening, and after this film, Pusha was performing.
That's such a good idea.
But you had to be.
That is such a good idea. Wow.
You had to be 21 and up, and I was only 20.
Yeah.
So we snuck in because I used my boy's ID. I don't look anything like him. Security did not look at that ID at all, and I was able to get in. This is the first time I snuck in anyway to watch Pusha T perform. It was great. It was wonderful. It was such a good time.
That came out when I was in high school and like a senior in high school, and there was this one like Project X party that was, I'm sure this happened all across the country, but there was this one in Durham that was thrown, and the people that threw it like got arrested and couldn't graduate type thing.
Damn.
It like really went up.
That's a good reason not to graduate. party?
Honestly, yeah.
It's
A
like
Project X party, yeah.
Like a project. Like I still remember those dudes, and I didn't even know 'em.
yeah, right.
Wow.
You gotta leave your mark,
Yeah.
Holland. Leave your
Yeah.
mark.
Durham legends.
No one's gonna remember you walking the stage, but they might remember the party you threw the day you didn't graduate.
It's like my man
Right.
that ran to his high school
Yeah,
graduation.
Metro Mars
Yeah.
threw $5,000 and he graduated. You a legend, bro.
Wow,
You
son.
a legend. Like that graduating class will never forget the way you made it rain and got arrested.
Wow.
The day you graduated. You're a star. You're a star.
You know what's hilarious? That's my junior year at college. I stayed in this upper apartment where we threw one party. It was a crazy fun party, but we only ever threw one party. But there was this like dip in the floor, like near the corner. And we were always terrified that if we had too many people on that dip, the shit was gonna collapse. And
Yeah.
it did, but like a year or two after we weren't in the apartment, there was a party happening there. It was a huge story in the area. Like the floor just collapsed and just like emptied into the fucking apartment downstairs. And like that's sometimes like all those people who threw that party, I'm sure they're all legends too. Shout out to whoever that is. I didn't know any of those people, but like that's a moment. I don't want to say I wish that happened to us, but I almost kind of wish that happened to us.
Did you really throw a party if the floor didn't cave in? Is it a party? It's not a party.
That happened.
It almost caved in.
We were in an attic for like a house party, and no one knew whose house it was. And we were just like hanging out up there, and then straight up like the floor, like I guess it was the roof, but it was the floor to us, collapses, and we just fell into the room right below. It just fell right down.
Wow.
It happened so fast, and then we were out of there. If you're listening to this podcast and that was your house, like I'm terribly sorry about that.
You just
We're just gone. We're just gone after that.
Damn.
And that's the takeaway from this podcast: is you got to fall through the floor if you can.
Honestly, yeah, fall through the floor. Like don't be afraid to fall through the floor.
Be afraid
because
to fall through the floor because it's not that bad.
Yeah.
yeah, honestly, it's not. Like once it's over, you're just gone.
It's like the story of Icarus. Like he flew too close to the sun. He was trying like, this is not that bad. Falling into the water.
That's not the moral of that story.
Yeah. Wait, I really do believe you gotta think about it. Would you rather fly too close to the sun and fall into the water, or never fly too close to the sun? Like I feel like you'll always spend your entire life wondering what happens if I get too high. That's why you gotta tell people it's okay to fall to the floor, because then it allows them to fly.
It allows them, to throw the Project X party.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the only way. Like if you don't believe that falling to the floor is not that bad, you're going to be afraid that you're going to fall your entire life. And you can't be afraid to fall.
Or fly. Depending on which metaphor you're like.
They're the same metaphor, bro. Honestly.
I agree 100%, but some Greek philosophers really mad at you right now.
Would really disagree.
I know it.
But that's the dialectic that it's all about.
Yeah. I'll argue it. I'm ready to debate.
That's just having a healthy discourse.
Yeah.
Let's go. Let's go.
On a podcast, all right, healthy discourse. That's it.
Yeah, honestly, like that's really all it is. So okay, Holland already gave an answer to this question, so I guess I'll ask Yoh. What was the movie that made you fall in love with movies? Like you're not just like taking it in anymore. You're like really tapped in and like engaging with it. Like when did that happen for you?
That's a good question.
I have a different one. I can step in, Yoh.
Yeah, go ahead. Let me think about it. Yeah,
let's go.
It's not super bad. It's actually the movie that made me want to make movies was strangely this movie called Drinking Buddies by Joe Swanberg, who's like this mumblecore guy from Chicago who makes like 5 movies a year. And it was just such a downtone and like normal life, like real life kind of situation. And it was the first time I'd ever seen something like that. And I was like, wow, like I could just really make a movie. Like it doesn't have to be some big kind of blockbuster, like superhuman, extreme situation. Like you can kind of make movies about everyday stuff. And it's a little bit of like a small, it's just a small movie. It's a small movie about like 2 couples at a lake house. Like I'm sure they made it because they like had a lake house and the actors would do it. But to me, it was like, oh shit, dude, like I can make a movie too. And that was like, honestly, the movie that I sided with. It just blew me away how naturalistic it was. And I've kind of been after that vibe, like kind of since then.
That's pretty amazing.
I like that a ton. And yeah, like mumblecore is a movement that doesn't get talked about a lot. Cause like I remember when I first saw Wildflower and that shit kind of blew my mind. Like I didn't like know what I was watching and I was like, this just looks dope. And I watched it and like my brain fell out of my ear. I was like, damn, what is this? So shout out to mumblecore for sure.
So a little bit about me. What was cool growing up was my parents, but specifically my aunts, would take us to the movies. Like I got two cousins who are like brothers. So whenever we would hang out, they were like, let's take the boys to the movies. So movies going was like an experience. It wasn't so much about the movies, it was the experience of going to the theater, smelling the popcorn, hanging out with your bros. Like going to the movies was fun. Yeah. But when I started to get into movies was, dang, I had to be 20, maybe whenever Moonlight came out, whatever year that was, because me and a friend, we decided to go to the movies. We didn't have a movie plan. She had to work at a certain time. So let's say we got to pay like 10 a.m. We trying to go to like the matinee. We go to the movies. The only movie playing at the time that fit our schedule was Moonlight. I never saw a trailer for Moonlight. I never saw anything from Moonlight. So we go in, oh, let's watch this. Dylan, the first half of that movie feels like The fucking Wire, right? So I'm watching drug dealers. I'm seeing drugs being sold. I'm seeing Cadillacs. It looks like a hood film. And then it just transitions into this completely beautiful coming of age story that I did not see. Like, there's not a moment in that movie I saw coming. Not one. And by like halfway through, she starts crying. Like, I don't think she was ready to cry that morning, but it was just, I was like, are you okay? She was like, she's so beautiful.
Yeah.
And I had such a visceral reaction to that movie that I'd never had before. And I've always been chasing visceral reactions. I want to sit down and watch something and feel like I don't know what's about to happen next. I don't know what's going to happen to this character. I don't know how he's going to grow up. Like, I had so many questions, and I knew the way it ended that there would never be another, like, I'll never see it again. Like, there'll never be another sequel to it. Like, you have to take in the entire experience,
right,
and like live with that
moment to moment type shit. Yeah.
When I saw that movie, like Barry Jenkins, I was just like, oh, you're different. You're making like, that's high art to me. Moonlight's high art. So yeah, when I saw Moonlight, I walked out that theater completely different because I saw something that I didn't see before, and it was just transformation.
Man, like you're probably the third or fourth person I've talked to on this podcast who's mentioned Moonlight too. Like that's such a movie. Like it really awoke something in so many different people. Like it like not even just like that's the one I really love. Like that's the one that really made me pay attention to movies. Yeah. Like it's really amazing to see how many people like connected, because like I remember when I saw it, like I was already like deep into the film shit at the time. So like I'm watching it and I knew I watched it and was like, oh, this is going to be one we're talking about in 20 years. Like when I always forget Andre Holland's character's name, but when Chiron and Andre Holland are like having that speech in the kitchen, like, I was what?
Yeah, when he puts his head on him and then it's the flashback to the thing. Yeah, gas.
I was like, nah, this is it. This is an all-timer. Like, and then
all-timer.
And then when when Chiron is like, you're the only man who ever touched me, I didn't cry in the theater, but like I wanted like that was one of the only times I don't know, not one of the only times, but like that was a time I wanted to cry, but I didn't. Like I was like, I really wish I was crying right now. Like it just hit me so far.
It's emotional, so hard, man. And it's emotional in the most subtle way. That movie does not like punch you in the face. Like it like shanks you. It's a little shank, and by the time you know it, like it didn't hit an organ, it didn't hit something. You didn't even know it was gonna hit something, and now it hit something, and now you're just like leaking. You're crying out. That's what I'm saying. When she started crying, I looked at her. I was like, "Are you okay?"
Because it builds up to this climax that happens like 10 seconds before the movie ends, which is just that he finally gets to be who he is, and then it's over. And you don't necessarily know that's where it's going at all until it happens, and then it's over. Another movie that I had a very similar like it's over and it just like all sinks in and like seeps through your body at once was watching The Last Black Man in San Francisco, which is
I
like
still haven't seen
my
it. Oh,
favorite
I'm mad at
movie.
myself.
Yeah. And yeah, there's a scene at the very end where he's just on a, I won't spoil it for you specifically, Dylan, but it's just
watch that movie.
The last shot of that movie just had me
an
really
amazing,
viscerally.
I think I went to the movies with someone that cried during that movie too. That's another movie I was like, I went hanging out with a friend, and she was like, "Let's go watch this movie." I never saw anything about it. I'm in the theater, I'm watching this movie, and I'm like, "Is this the greatest movie I've ever seen?" It's so good. It's so good. It's halfway through, you're just transfixed. Not like the way it's cut, the way it's edited, the way it's colored, the way it's the acting, everything about that movie. Mike Epps is in that movie, and it's just like the best Mike Epps role since Friday, in my opinion. Damn. Like he's so Mike Epps, and it's just everything in that movie works. And when it ends, both that and Moonlight, you sort of gotta walk out the theater quiet. You're not loud, you're not applaud, like it just sinks in. And I feel like a good movie does that. Like a good movie leaves you with so much to digest that it's like you just had a hearty meal and you got to go home and sit down and think about what you just had.
Yeah.
You gotta
or talk about it with people, because that's one thing I love to do.
100%.
Yeah. After I watch a movie, I always got to talk about it with somebody, even if it's just to me, like me just like recording myself talking about it. Like I got to talk about it. Like it's just it has to get out, like, or else it won't feel right. I don't know.
And that's why I miss Roger Ebert so much, because when I watch old films, first thing I do, I read an Ebert review.
Yeah,
I got to know what he thought about it. I always felt like the way he wrote about films was the way I want to write about music. I want to be that guy where it's like he captures it so well that it's just, who else needs to write about films? He should, like, that's his one role in life. Like, you should be able to write about films and do nothing else. Yep. It was that good. It was that impressive. And the saddest thing about having new movies is we don't have new Ebert reviews.
Yeah, and he was so good at finding the middle ground between being classy and cultured and just being like a regular person. And that's a really hard balance to attain for anybody in anything, but especially something that's like that so many people, well, I don't even know that people see film as like a pretentious thing, because like everybody has some sort of relationship with movies. Even if you don't like them that much, like you've seen a movie and you get what the experience of watching a movie is like. Right. So right. And like, I think that's what makes film writing and just like film, it's like, I think that's what makes it so easy to connect, even if it's like a negative experience. Like, it's just kind of like, we snapped with that shit. Like, we did that. Humans made film. And like, that's like one of that and music are probably my two picks for like our greatest contribution to the universe. Like, that's what the aliens are going to find. Like,
completely agree with that, Dylan. That is a profound thought. My Ebert was always Anthony Lane, though, and he's still around writing for the New Yorker. Yeah.
Okay.
He didn't have the same thing where it's like he's an everyman that's writing about it. His is like, I'm going to learn something about like the history of movies when I'm reading this review. He'll tell you about like 3 movies from 1940 that were like kind of had the same plot, and then also something really like cheeky about the studio or something like that. But I always feel like I'm kind of learning something, and it's like really entertaining review. So I'm always headed over to New Yorker.
That's so important too. Yeah. That's so important too. Like you should also be able to trust the people that you're like reading in that regard. And if you can like trust them to give you that type of info and make it entertaining and engaging, like that's also another extremely hard balance to hit. Cause like you can be informative, but you could also just be an encyclopedia, and like encyclopedias are boring. Let's be straight. Let's be real. Like, so,
you never want to be boring. You just don't. Because even if you're right, who wants to be right and boring?
Exactly. You know?
Or right and pretentious. Yeah.
Right.
There you go.
Because at least you're not.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like to be quiet and wrong.
Nobody wants to be quiet and wrong. What's the point of that? What's the point of that? If a tree falls in the forest and you're wrong, I don't know.
Exactly. Like, I want people to know I dropped a tree. That's the thing, right? If I need Holland to know.
Right. That's incredible. So y'all are kind of, so like at this point, at this stage in your guys' lives, like you're developing your tastes. And let's bring this to the other side of the tracks. When did y'all first fall in love with music?
It was way earlier for me. It was always about music for me. I came up as a music producer. I played piano growing up. I mean, my dad ran a recording studio in New Orleans, so I grew up kind of like living in a music studio. And then, like, as soon as I can remember, I wanted to be an artist. I was playing piano. Like, as soon as like DAWs kind of dropped into my world when I was like in high school, I started making beats. And so like when I was in college, yeah, I was going to be a music producer the whole time. That's what got me into rap too. I mean, I was into rap before I was making beats, but it was kind of like dovetailed really when I was in college and I started producing for folks in North Carolina. So for me, yeah, music was really early on. It was, I think the way you said it, Dylan, where it's just hearing live music, which is something that's been such a, void in all of our lives for a year, just thinking about that. Dude, I was watching Uzi perform Tour Life on YouTube and I like got chills. Like, that's how badly I need live music again. You know what I mean? But it just really is that experience where when you're at a show with an artist that like has some indescribable meaning to you, like it just does not get better than that. It's the most powerful thing, and very similar to what we were talking about with watching like a movie like Moonlight or something that really resonates with you on a visceral level. It's just like those are the two things in my life as well, Dylan, that are like unassailable and kind of why we've made the decisions that we've made to kind of devote our lives to those two things.
Right.
And being on the creative side of it as well.
I love that Holland used to be a producer.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
A lot of like the scoring on Rap Portraits is just like Holland's beats. Like a lot of like the textures and tones stuff. Like I never thought having a music producer be a filmmaker would make my life easier, but it does. Because we just need music for stuff, because music is rhythm, right? So if you have a rhythm for scenes, you have a rhythm for trailers and stuff, you need music. So just to know we have Holland's Rolodex of production, we can always score.
I think that's what makes me a good editor too, because I think it's kind of the same piece about having like a sense of rhythm and having a sense of like when to go from one thing to the next. And also
say that.
Film is such an aggregate art form too, that like when it's just Yoh and I having like a really balanced tone or like a really specific tone, I think like being on the creating side of everything down to the music, I think helps us like strike that specific tone, which is what ties together all of the Rap Portraits, I think. And like, I think we've really found something that we can replicate.
And we're a good balance too. There's things that Holland sees that I don't see. There's things that I see he doesn't see. So we're always like trading ideas. Like his ability to shoot things, I trust him 100% to do the shooting. Like I don't have to have any input. And when he edits things down and we're starting piecing things together, it's a constant back and forth. He'll try something like, you like this show? I'll suggest something like, you like this Holland? So by the end of the process, we have something that feels like a bit of him and a bit of me. That's how we did Mavi. That's how we did Earth King. This is how we're doing Pale and all the ones coming forward. I fell in love with music. It's funny because I think I fell in love with movies first because I was having the movie experience before I had a live concert experience.
Right.
My parents, they didn't take us to shows. I think my parents went to a concert. I don't know why, but they did not do concerts. Like no one was like, hey, let's take the boys to a show. Like, nah. But parents had a skating rink. So going to the skating rink, and my parents own a skating rink now, before they were managing a skating rink when I was like 6 or 7, 8 at the oldest. So I used to take us skating at a spot called Decatur Family Skate Center in Atlanta. And there was a DJ that had a bin of CDs. So we can go and take any CD from the bin. And I think the first CD I took was AT Aliens Outcast. Cause the cover just looked like, oh, this is cool. Let me pick this up. And I think I've always just been picking up CDs from bins. That became my life, picking up CDs from bins, playing them, being enamored by them, studying them, and then putting them back in the bin and picking another album up and going through the same process. So I started making mixed CDs in high school because I had a CD burner. For whatever reason, you had LimeWire and a CD burner, you could make $5 every day. So people would send me lists of songs they would want me to burn on a CD. And I would go home with like 5 or 6 lists a day or a week. And I was just burn these CDs and take them back to school and sell them. So like I was known as the CD guy. So people would come to me to get their CDs mixed.
You're already hustling at that point. That's so crazy to me.
We were hungry.
Yeah.
So doing hustling in school. Man, I used to make CDs for teachers. Like, man, I was selling to everybody.
That's
everybody
OD. Anybody can get one.
Anyone can get a
CD. Oh my God.
Maybe I was a rapper. I don't know.
I mean,
same energy.
But doing that, and then I graduated, and I just kept playing music. Like music became like the most important thing to me because I was just so in love with it. Like I don't even know when it happened, but before I knew it, I couldn't go a day without hearing a song. I couldn't go a day without playing an album, and it just became like what I want to do in my life is just listen to my favorite songs. That's why I became a music journalist. I didn't become a music journalist to work. I became a music journalist to listen to music. That was it. Like that's all I wanted to do.
Wow. You more or less answered not all the individual questions I have for you, but you touched on you already touched on a few of them. So that's crazy. But before we get into that, I wanted to get back to what Holland was saying about live music and just like having that moment and that like connection. Cause that like I went to shows when I was younger, right? I didn't like I went to a handful. Like my parents would take me to a few shows. The first concert I ever went to was an NSYNC show when they toured No Strings Attached. Pink opened for them. It was right when she had put out her first album when everybody thought she was black, and she's not.
Oh wow.
She's not black, y'all. She's just not.
Broke the news.
And then it like there were other shows I had been to and like other like concerts and things, but like the two that I remember from my childhood more than any other were the NSYNC show, and then my dad took me to see Prince when Musicology came out. Yeah, it was me, my dad, and my 2 cousins, my cousin Indira and my cousin Paul. We went to see Prince at MetLife Stadium, which used to be just the Jet Stadium in Jersey, in East Rutherford. And this was when Musicology came out, like one of like the 3 or 4 albums he dropped before he died. And seeing Prince play that guitar was one of the first moments, like when I was like, damn, like I had heard the album so many times because we had run it into the ground at that point, but like seeing him play the guitar, I was like, fuck, like this is insane. And then the first concert I went to by myself was in college. I saw, it was They Might Be Giants. I saw They Might Be Giants. And then that was when I was like, yeah, I gotta, like, shows are my thing now. Like I'm going to every show ever, forever. Like I just knew that was it. And it's, that connection, not having that for a year was honestly a lot. It was a lot. I went to my first show after, like, like I said before, I don't want to call it like post-COVID because COVID's not going anywhere and so many people have died. But like I went to my first.
Not to cut you off, our last show was together. The last show we went to was together.
Wow, yeah, the one in Tulsa. Damn.
Mm-hmm. We was in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Who y'all saw?
The locals, like every person that was in Tulsa, it was crazy. So the itinerary was that every night they had set up a concert for us to see, like,
for just you and Dylan.
Nah, for all
of us.
Yeah, they invited a bunch of journalists to come to Tulsa. So they were teaching us about the Black Wall Street Massacre, and they was teaching us about like the local music scene. So the first half of the day was always about history. They would take us into like museums. They would take us into like rec centers. They would take us to like landmarks, and then at night they would take us to the concert venues. So like the first night was more like rap centric, and the second night was like they had live bands and everything. It was very cool.
Yeah, shit was tight.
Cool. Shout out to all the rappers out of Tulsa because like you guys really made us feel welcomed. And they recorded the album that night. The album that just came out, the Fire Little Africa album.
Yep.
There.
Cool.
Yeah. It was fire.
Yeah.
Dylan was with me 3 a.m., 4 a.m. Me and Dylan just there.
Yeah, the whole night. Like, what was it, like 2 or 3 nights in a row, son? Like,
man, look. When I'm in
was
Atlanta,
it fun? Being in a studio is fun until it's really not.
No. It was fun. It was fun the whole time.
Holland has hung with me in Atlanta. He's like, yo, you just hang out in the studio for 2 hours? Like, yes. Yes, I do. But when I was with Dylan, like, all the other journalists would go back to the room. And then me and Dylan, it's just me, Dylan, and the rappers. 3 a.m. And then we'll go back. And then we'll do it again the next night.
Yeah.
Just up 3, 4 a.m. talking to everybody. We just ended up just chilling. And that's what I liked about Dylan is he could hang. I don't like people who can't hang. Because it's like, don't make me go to the room early because I'm waiting to see the thing. I'll wait here all night for it. I'll wait till 5, 6 a.m. because I know once I see it, then I can go. But if I don't see it and you make me leave early, I'm gonna be high.
Yeah, what was I here for?
Yeah, but so Dylan was just down. He was just down to hang. This is the first time I ever met Dylan too. So we had never met before.
Oh, wow.
And
you're not in person anyway. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember he came in. We was in the room. Oh, it was so much fun. That was so much fun. For the last thing to do for like before social gatherings to have a social gathering, it was fun. It was fucking fun.
Yeah, that was definitely a great like last joint before the end of the world. That shit was beautiful. Shout out to everybody. Shout out to everybody in Tulsa, man. That was amazing.
That's how you go out, right? You go do a music conference before the world ends.
Right. And then like going from that to nothing for over a year, and then going Pink Seafood and Fly Anakin and a whole bunch of other people held a show in Hoboken. And I was like, oh, I just had them on the podcast. Shout out to Liv and Frank. I just had them on, and I was like, I gotta go see them. Like I would be like, it's 20 minutes from my house. I had to be there. So I just showed up, and they had this like, it was in a thrift store, more or less, called Top Shelf Premium. And they like the stage was the front window of the thing. So like they would all perform on the stage, and you could either watch from inside the cramped ass store or you could watch from outside, and they kept the door open. So it was just like you could do whatever you wanted, and just like it was only maybe like it couldn't have been more than like 40 or 50 people. And it was beautiful. Like I was so emotional just being around people and like experiencing live music again, and just like it just touched my soul. I was like, I missed this. Like, I can't believe I went it sounds so frivolous, but like, I can't believe I went a year without that kind of connection with people. Like, forget just the music, like just being around people and experiencing a thing together. Like, that's kind of what makes that so special. And that's what you were talking about before, Holland. And yeah, I couldn't possibly agree more. Like, that shit is too crucial. Like
100%, man. And it's the like medium-sized shows too that are always my favorite. Like the shows at like a 200 cap room or something like that, where you're seeing somebody who like, especially coming from Durham where I lived, there's not a lot of really big venues. So like a lot of people would kind of downsize and play the rooms that we had available to them. And so I've seen like all sorts. I saw Anderson .Paak at like a half full, like there were maybe like 150 people there like a few years ago.
Man.
Gold Link, Saba, just like all the people I really like a lot have come through Durham, and just to see them in a room with that's not overwhelming. Like I saw Kendrick too, and like a huge lawn type outdoor thing, and it like honestly was not as enjoyable to me than being in that room surrounded by people, just like packed in with people where everyone is way into the artist and they're not going because like they had a significant other who dragged them there.
How'd you like
I feel it.
Dreamville Festival?
Yeah, were you at Dreamville?
No, not yet. One day,
that was
not
fantastic.
yet.
Yo and I were there together. It was we saw Cole together at the end of the night. That was the best, man. That was a great. Fantastic show. It was a weird setup because it was like 2 stages only in a huge field, and they were on either ends of the field. So they couldn't have sets playing simultaneously because the sound bled into each other. So they would have one set on this side,
right,
and then everyone would just literally turn around and like walk to the other 100%. Side and see the next set. And then it was like popping back and forth like that. And everyone was just in a good mood.
Yeah, it was great. It was great. And like, you didn't have no phone service, right? So
that was the other thing. It was fantastic. Yeah.
Somehow I found this guy and all of that madness. It's like I don't even know how many people there. Let's say it was like 30,000 people there. Football field size, like outdoors, 2 stages. You got people coming back and forth. Lourdes was there. I drove down with Jason from Bossa.
Shout out Jason.
And we just had a blast. And Lourdes, we had a blast. And I found Holland, and I found Holland right before Cole performed. So like we watched Cole together, and it was just it was magic, bro. It was just magic. And I just remember leaving just feeling like recharged. Like, oh yeah, we're ready for this next phase. And I feel like that was, what was your
That was in 2019. That was in like the summer of 2019, I think.
But like me and Holland, because I interviewed Holland for Hype.
Yep.
And then, this is the funny story. I don't think I told this on the podcast before, but Fonte texted me about Holland. And Fonte has had my number since our first interview, which was like in 2017, 2018. He's never texted me. He texted me, it was late. He was like, you gotta know this guy. And it was Holland. And I was like, all right. So I interviewed him and we just stayed connected. So after Dreamville, we kept talking. And we were just kind of like, we want to do something. We were talking about documentaries. We were talking about like day in the lives, like everything we were talking about. And then all of a sudden, a situation appeared, like Mavi appeared. And it was just exactly what we needed to try out this idea that was in our heads. And once we tried the idea out, then we had a project. Then we had Rap Portraits. It was just an idea. It was just a thought. It was just a thought that we kept sharing. And then before we knew it, the thought had realized itself into that first episode. And since then, we've just been rocking and rolling.
Man, I love that story, especially considering that you two are kind of coming at this from two separate sides of the track here, you know, like that's I think that's one of the things that makes Rap Portraits so unique as not just an experience. Well, just like as an experience, because like you can feel the passion in it, and you can feel like this is, like regular isn't the word I want to use, but it just feels like Holland was saying, it's intimate. You know, like having that intimacy is like that's what you want out of something like that most of the time. Like it doesn't even have to be like voyeuristic or like fly on the wall type shit. Just like being there. It's like and like that's different to me than voyeurism. Like it just feel like there's a difference between intimacy and voyeurism, you know? And
Absolutely. Like an undersung part of that too. We were talking about kind of the process about making these documentaries, and Yoh was talking about me behind the camera, but another part of it too is like it's a really kind of like intimate social experience being around people. Like obviously we don't have a big set and we're not like brought in here by the label or by the PR people. It's like Yoh texting an artist like, yo, I know you've got this going on, like let me and Holland come and hang out and do this documentary for you. And our pitch to the artist is often as well like, dude, this is going to be like a meaningful day in your life. Like this is the coolest home video type thing you could have for it. Like you're going to remember this. Like we hope that you remember this day fondly, and that we can like kind of elevate it and have something that you can keep for the rest of your life as well. And it's not just like me shooting it, it's Yoh being there and like being in the room and kind of like making everyone feel comfortable and feel like you're saying, the intimacy is cultivated not just by me being there with camera, but also by Yoh being there as a friend. And that's maybe what makes it feel sort of implicitly like you're hanging out with the artist, because like we're hanging out with the artist in a way that's not as much like, hey, we're here to do a press thing.
It's been very welcoming. Right. We have one, I'm not gonna say who it is, but we followed them to the day they bought a house. They bought their first house. So Holland drove down from New Orleans and he's in a Tesla, right?
Oh, so, I know who this is.
we're talking about, okay, how are we gonna drive to where the artist signs the papers for the house? And Holland's like, well, I want to shoot them, but we need them to drive. And we were telling the guys like, hey, why don't you just drive this Tesla? Right. And he's like, bro, I might be too hot for this. I was like, no, you got this. So we get in the car, he's driving the Tesla, and like gradually he's becoming more and more comfortable with the car. And by the time we get there, he's like, bro, I need one. So after that portrait, Holland came back to Atlanta for another portrait. We're shooting the portrait. His phone rings. It's the rapper. I was like, what does he want? And he's like asking Holland about Teslas because he wants to buy one now. And it's just like, that's how I know that day is going to be significant for him, because even if the house isn't significant, this is the day you found out you wanted a Tesla. Like, it's all like, I don't know, we always bring something to the table. We're going to bring an experience. We're going to bring the documentation. We're going to bring our personalities. Like we work well in rooms, but I think we're just always just really good with making artists feel like people. You know what I'm saying? We make them feel like for a second, you don't have to be that superstar guy. Even with the camera on, you don't have to be that superstar guy. Somehow you like settle into who you are as a person. And it's that personal aspect that I think is going to make Rap Portraits extremely special 10 years from now, 20 years from now, when you're looking back at the Mavis and he's a superstar, looking back at Earth Gang, they're superstars. You're looking back at, you know, all of these guys and you're seeing them at their most personal, at their most honest. And it's just like, where else can you get that? You got to get it from us.
Right. And there really aren't many examples of that type of shit that I could think of right now. Like while you were explaining all of that, I was trying to think of a show that like really gets at that. And the only one I can think of is something like Behind the Music. And even Behind the Music is kind of like, that's more like, that's still a little more sensational and a little more like, just like wild than what y'all have going on with Rap Portraits.
We're like in between MTV Cribs and Behind the Music. Mm-hmm. We're that perfect middle. Because MTV Cribs is like a day in the life in your house. Behind the Music is the curtain being moved. We pitch you behind the curtain. It might not be in our house, but it's going to move the curtain and it's going to be a day in that life behind the curtain.
Right.
So it's crazy.
And yeah, like even Cribs was doctored as shit. Like the one like
it's pretty sensational too, yeah.
Right. The two episodes of Cribs I always remember are the Yin Yang Twins one, where they're walking through a house that's clearly not fucking theirs, showing off the boats and the fish and and they have the pantry full of crunk juice. I'm like, motherfucker, this is not yours. Like,
you knew they were coming.
Like, yeah, exactly. And then you have something like Redman's, where Redman showed off his real apartment because he was like, my mom told me if I tried to show them some real, she would have been like, that's not his house, that's not Reggie's house. Like. Yeah. So like those two poles, you know, like it's kind of like it's just like that, and that's not what Rap Portraits is, or rather
all the way on the one side, yeah.
Right, yeah, right. Like Rap Portraits is more like it's more like the Redman type shit, where it's just very
you
raw.
See that real apartment,
sure,
yeah.
Yo, I'm so happy that we actually did this earlier, because I was gonna ask about how Rap Portraits came together like way later, but I'm happy we just did that now. I don't know why I didn't think about that, but I'm happy y'all did. So thank you.
We love to tell our story.
I think I always thought it was a cool story. You know,
it is a cool story.
Sometimes, even being in New Orleans, I'm only here because he's here. Like, I feel like he's enriched my life in so many ways. Beyond being just like my business partner, he's just been like a great friend. And, you know, I feel like that's what I would recommend people. Like, if you want to start a business with a great friend. Not just a good friend. I got some good friends I want to start businesses with. Y'all are cool, but we don't need a thing together. But you got a great friend who enriches your life and just like pushes you to do things and like grants you experiences, shows you another side of life. Like, yeah, man, like do a business with them, because I think you're only going to grow closer in that experience and become better people, I hope.
There's been a lot of great experiences and like sort of adventurous experiences that have been downstream of us starting Rap Portraits. Not to make all of this about our thing, but I do think like part of the ethos of what we're trying to do is like, if there's a moment that's happening and we come next week and could get the same thing, like we don't want to be there. The whole idea is that it's happening, and if we're not there, no one sees it, kind of a thing. And so like by virtue of that kind of methodology, we end up in like really cool situations. And like we were talking about before, Dylan, it's like you fall in love with music at a young age. You just want to be around it, man. That's why we all do this, you know what I'm saying? 100%. And so being like so intimately around it, you know, you want to be as close as you can, and we've, you know, keep finding ourselves in these really intimate spots.
You know, like that kind of speaks to the trust that we were all talking about before. And of course, considering everything that we've learned about you guys working together on Rap Portraits. I want to know something a little more about the both of you, like as individuals. So
Yeah.
Holland, since I got you here, like when, so like you mentioned that you were making music and you came from a musical family. I feel it. I also come from a musical family, so that's really dope. But when did you so like when did you first decide that you wanted to pursue film instead of music? Like when did that happen for you?
It happened because I was producing and also performing with, kind of doing producer stuff on stage with an artist from North Carolina called Wells. Um, we were like kind of, it was right after I graduated college. We were going on tours like here and there. We were kind of like opening for bigger acts, doing that whole thing. And then he sort of stopped making music and moved to Virginia to be with his girlfriend, and just like kind of dropped off the music game. And at that point, that was like a big part of my life. So I had to, not that I had to, but it gave me an opportunity to sort of reconsider where I was spending a lot of my time. And that is when I wrote Hype. And so it was kind of a clean transition from me spending a lot of time doing, you know, producer things to me writing a screenplay for a web series, which it's a web series, but it was like a 5 episode, 20-minute thing. So it's like kind of the same length and breadth of a movie.
Right.
It was very much like from then on out making an independent movie. I mean, I did like the Kickstarter thing and I raised money in Durham to make it. And then kind of spent the whole next year producing and directing that web series. I got really lucky because I got a really talented cinematographer who happened to be back in town in Durham called Bruce Cole to shoot it. So that really kind of like upped the production value of it, which he's been kind of a mentor to me ever since. And I'm really grateful to him for that. But yeah, that was the clean transition from when I became coming from a producer to becoming a filmmaker, because, you know, the one thing I was doing that was producing kind of went away, and I went straight all into the filmmaking kind of a thing. And it was a huge project, so it took me quite a while.
Yeah, I bet. Like, and yeah, like not really have, well, I don't want to assume that you didn't have any filmmaking experience, but it seems like you were
No, I
really
really
like,
didn't, man. I made one short before that. Yeah.
wow. So like you really just, so like you wrote a screenplay and you really dove into this project with like little to no experience. And like, what was it like kind of just, I guess, like we were talking about before, like deciding to just like fall through the floor and just like, fuck it, I'm gonna make a web series. Like, how was it kind of like learning about all of this stuff on the fly? Like, was that a lot to or like I don't have to ask if that was a lot to handle. I'm sure it was. Like, talk to me about that.
It was a lot to handle, man. And like, I'm serious about not knowing anything. Like, I didn't know a goddamn thing about filmmaking. Like, we showed up on set and Bruce was like, "Do we have lights?" And I was like, "Why do you need lights? Like, we have a camera." Like, I was literally that inexperienced about it. I didn't know anything. And so to have, I got lucky that I fashioned my crew with some people that did have some experience. But yeah, I was just like, dude, it's such a testament looking back on it now to the idea that you just like have to go and do the thing that you want to do. Because knowing what I know now, I would have never tried to have done it. I was so naive about
Mm,
the scope of the project. I was like casting people by having them come. It was so unprofessional, dude. I was like having people come and like to my house to read them to cast. And like every bit of it was completely unprofessional. However, everyone that joined the project did it strictly because they thought it was a cool thing that was going on and wanted to be a part of it. And through that, you know, I got like a dozen or so crew and all of the cast that are in it. I mean, a lot of them are friends. Yeah, and I was just, you know, every location that's in the thing, I was calling them and just asking for permission to come and shoot this thing on them. There's like no incentive financially for anybody to be involved with it, but it was kind of a thing that had this local, you know, we all want to make a film kind of energy. And everything that I've done since then has been because of that project that I did in completely unforeseen ways. I mean, Yoh talked about Fonte calling him and telling him, you know, to watch Hype and to look out for it. I met Fonte at LAX, like in the Uber line. Like, I didn't know Fonte
right.
at all. And I just walked up to him and invited him to the premiere of Hype, which was showing in Durham like a month or two after that. And he came and just really championed it. Obviously, when I sat down and wrote Hype, I wasn't like, you know what I'm gonna do, man? I'm gonna make this. I'm gonna find Fonte in the street
Right.
and I'm going to be like, yo, Fonte, come here. And then he's going to put me on to like a writer who's going to become my production partner. And we're going to start a whole thing together. You know what I mean? It's like, you can never, it's really hard to envision the A to B to C to D that gets you from one place to the place that you're trying to go, especially when you have like a lot of aspiration in a creative field. It's like, man, it just seems impossible for me to go from where I am right now at like 22 or 23, not going to film school, never done this before, to being someone that wants to make movies. But then you just have to do it though. It's the only thing that you can do, you know? So yeah, I just had a lot of energy at that time, and I made the whole thing, and it was extremely stressful and exhausting.
But you came out on the other side, and that's a testament to something that you must have already had inside of you, because like so many people get together on some we want to make a movie shit, and they're really passionate about it and they want to do it, but sometimes those people give you the room. Like you get something that's like The Room, where like it's kind of become this like artifact. It's gonna become this artifact, but like that shit sucks. It's a bad movie. It's an artifact because of how bad it is. Like it's not even like a talent thing. It's just like these people were passionate, but the movie sucks. And like you and the team behind Hype had something that made the show great and made people like Fonte be like, oh, this is cool. I'm putting my weight behind this. You know, like that doesn't just happen for no reason.
Sure. But the thing about it too is like what I think really attracted Fonte to the whole thing, beyond it being like a North Carolina thing, like it was local to him too, and it was about rap, so it was very much in his world. But it was when I went over to his crib like the following weekend, and him hearing about how I made it, which is how I just described it to you, with like a lot of hustle and like a lot of doing it yourself in a lot of different ways. And he was like, dude, it reminded me of Making the Listening. It was just us. It was just us at the crib, like in our friend's dorm room, recording it. Like there was no one telling us what to do. It was just that same energy. And so I think like, yeah, even beyond like the quality of the thing, it was really like the hustle kind of do it yourself aspect that is what, you know, I think Fonte saw a little bit of himself in the project.
Right. Yeah, totally. And I just think that that's really tight. I don't even have anything like profound to add to that. I like considering the fact that you didn't have a bunch of experience and you just kind of you put that faith in yourself to make something good, and you put that faith in your team.
You know, like do the thing you want to do. You know, like everyone says that. Of course, like everyone's heard that advice before, but it's just, you know, mine is another example of it being such a concrete, like the only way to do it is to do it kind of a thing. Yeah.
And that's what got me about Hype. I remember it took me a minute to just sit down and watch it, because I was like, this is what, 20-minute episodes?
Yeah, it's long as hell, dude.
I was like, four 20-minute episodes. I was like, oh, I don't know. So I watched the first one. I was like, oh, that was good. I watched the second one. That's when I think the second one's when he does like the acid or the mushrooms.
Yeah, that's a funny scene.
That scene, I was like, oh, with the lights, I was like, okay. So I watched the third one. I was like, by the fourth one, I was like, I gotta talk to this guy, because it was that good. It was just that good, and it wasn't what I would consider like a perfect series, but you can tell that this is someone like trying things. Like he's trying new things. He's trying like different stories. He got all these different characters. He's trying all these different like shot angles. There's just like a voice to Hype that very specifically touched me to the point where I was like, I can see why Fonte say talk to this guy. And then after I talked to him, I was like, well, I really like the guy too. Like he's just, did you tell him about how when you approached Fonte, you didn't approach him for you approached him for, was it Taylor?
Yeah, when I actually did meet Fonte the first time, I didn't actually say come to my premiere. I was doing a podcast. I was like producing a rap podcast in North Carolina, and I invited him to come on the podcast because the two hosts were huge Fonte fans.
Right.
I admittedly a little before my time. Wasn't a huge little brother guy growing up. So I came at him with that energy. Never came on the podcast, but he did come to the premiere.
It worked out for somebody.
It's like sometimes when you see a person, it's not about you. Like don't approach and thinking about like how you want to pitch yourself. Sometimes it's about trying to help out a friend. And even in the effort to help out a friend, it doesn't mean you're gonna necessarily help them out, but it doesn't make it seem like you're doing a pitch for you. I think pitching yourself constantly, sometimes it could just rub people the wrong way because obviously everyone thinks they think is cool. Same thing with like, we talk about rap portraits and like marketing and ads and all that stuff. And 95% of it for me is like, I never want to feel like I'm overselling myself. I don't want to undersell. I don't want to oversell because I think sometimes when you oversell, it's like you're thirsty. Like you need people to care. Like I want people to like it. I want you to take it home, but I don't want to have to like be all in your face for you to want to take me home. Like I don't want to be a pick me. I just want you to see something special and take it home. So my whole thing is about making sure it's visible. Same thing. He just had to meet Fonte for Fonte to understand hype. It wasn't about like sending a bunch of emails. Like you just never know when you're running somebody. So my thing is very much like make your thing and wait for you to meet that person that's going to help you to make it bigger. It's not always about like hunting them down. Sometimes they'll just bump right into you.
True. And it's not like it was that great. Like you guys are kind to compliment it as much as you guys have.
I liked it.
But it's like it was not the best thing. But I think the point is that it was like trying to have a voice. Like I was trying to say something with the series. It was about like how gentrification was like crushing the underground art scene in Durham. You know what I mean? It was trying to say something. And it comes back to the thing before where it's like be intentional perhaps about if you're going to make art, try to say something at the very least. It doesn't have to be technically perfect, but people are going to respond to that.
And try to say it in your voice.
Yeah.
Because it's yours. Again, it's like be yourself is the same thing. Like you want to be yourself in your art, you want to be yourself in your dress. Like everything has to be you because that's what people ultimately want to get into. They want to get into you. They want to be like, that's what idols are, right? Idols are just people that people want to be. And you can't be an idol if you can't be yourself.
Yeah. And that's kind of the point I was trying. Sorry, that was just tight.
Bars left and right.
Man, it's
you.
I know.
When I'm around how I'm on.
It's almost like he should be a writer or some shit.
I know, right?
Too much like homework, bro. I told you. Well, who wants to do book reports every day?
And we do. That's what we want, son.
Exactly. I love a good book report.
My God, yeah, me too. But yeah, like it's kind of to the point I was making about like the room before, because like like there's passion there, there's passion, but there's no voice behind it, and like kind of like the whole appeal or like the detriment, depending on who you ask, behind that movie is that like you don't know what the fuck that guy's trying to say. Like not in the way it's written, not in the way it's shown, not in the way it's blocked. Like no, like you don't know what is trying, like you don't know what's being communicated at. You don't know who Tommy Wiseau is. And that's kind of what makes him both really alluring and extremely put offish at the same. It's a weird relationship. But the thing I like so much about Hype is that like I got what you were trying to say, like regardless of the quality, like the technical quality, like I felt you in there, and I felt like this is someone who has a thing to say. That's dope, and that's really what pushes stuff like that from I don't know what they're trying to say to oh shit, this is cool, let me tap in and see what happens next. Like even if you're not a fan of what you see at first, like like I want to see where this goes. Like I want to see where this goes can buy you so much fucking time. Like those words, I want to see where this goes. Like that'll buy you like a couple years.
For sure. And a really inspirational thing that I have held on to in my 20s is that I think it's a Ezra Klein thing, but I could be misappropriating this quote, but it's called The Gap. And the idea is that when you're in your like early 20s and you have like sort of a creative ambition or you see a project in your head and you really want it to be this thing, but there's a technical sort of gap between your vision for it and what you can actually achieve. You know what I mean? Like you're young, you don't know everything about the craft. There's like a craft gap kind of a thing between what you want to do and this things that you're actually making. And so a lot of people end up being extremely discouraged and maybe even, not pursuing the creative endeavor that they were going after because it's like, oh shit, like I see this thing in my head and what I'm putting out, I know is not the same thing. And that's like so discouraging to people that they quit. But like ultimately, as you continue to try, like over the years, like that gap closes because you get better at your craft, you practice, you learn, like you take it seriously. And then like ultimately, and it usually, like in the quote, he says it usually happens in a matter of like 5 or 6 years. So by the time you're in your late 20s, you kind of like do have the technical capabilities to achieve what you like see in your head. And like, that's when you are actually like doing the thing that you saw, you know, the whole time. But the point is that if you know what you're doing isn't good enough, like that's the whole thing that you need to have. Like if you put out stuff that is like The Room and you think it's really great when you're 22, like you're going to keep putting that out forever. But if you put it out when you're 22 and you're like, fuck dude, this is not at all what I want, just knowing that and kind of having the self-awareness and having the whatever it is that you need to have to take your craft seriously to improve on it until you get there is like really the major thing you have to have. And so it speaks to all the same I'm talking about, you know?
Yeah. To flip that, like look at what happened with Mac Miller. Like when Mac Miller dropped Blue Slide Park, like
Great example.
he got slammed when he dropped that shit, man. And like and then he took all of that and he like really sat with it and thought with it, and he got better and better every time, from watching movies to well really from Macadelic to watching movies and then to everything else. Like he really sat with it and thought with it and was like, I want to make something better. And he found himself right before he was just not here anymore, which is still really sad to me. And like you know, like that's
he was critically panned, but he sold. That album, wasn't it like the highest selling independent album
since Doggy Style? Doggy Style. Like
so
that's crazy.
He's trying to do something different, you know?
So it wasn't about just selling, right? Because if Mac Miller would have been like, fuck the critics, they don't know nothing.
Like Kevin Hart.
Yeah, I can just keep doing what I'm doing and I can keep selling. Like it affected him. And it's not always nice. Criticism is not always nice. No one likes to be critiqued. No one. I hate it. But it makes me better. It improves when you're critiqued. The problem sometimes with rap is we equate to selling to success. So if you sell and you're successful, then you don't have to hear the critics. But you should always listen to some kind of criticism, because you have to at least face the fact that, can I do better? That's ultimately what criticism is. It's all about doing better. It's like me and Dylan, we talked about the Migos album. Dylan, it took me like 7 listens to come around on that album. That first listen, I was like, they did not do it again. We pack them up. Like, but then the more I heard it, the more I was like, oh, you took the criticism from Culture 2 and you applied it to Culture 3. Like they sound energized. Every performance on that album there's not one that's phoned in. The rapping, like even the ad-libs sound more lively. The Migos sound like they want to be there. They want to be in the studio. They want to be in your headphones. They want to be in your car. They want to be on your stage. They want to be everywhere. And I feel like that was not Culture 2. Culture 2 was like, we're rich. And we can kind of just do this in our sleep. And it's like, nah, Culture 3.
We don't want that shit. Like,
hell nah, no one. They don't want you to sleepwalk through creating. We want you to be awake. We need you to be aware. And that awareness is what really brought me around to the album. And that same awareness is what I'm trying to apply to my own art. Like, I just know, all because you can write don't mean you can sleepwalk and do it. You can't be like, oh, I got 15 minutes, I can just write. I've done this before. Like, no, bro. Like, every piece is a new piece. Every story is a new story. And you have to approach that story with a certain level of awareness, a certain level of concentration, focus, love. Like, you have to attack work like it's the first time every time.
And that's how you close the gap.
Yeah, absolutely. That's how you.
It was Ira Glass. Ira Glass, the gap. If you look that up, more eloquently stated than I did. Really.
That's how you
gotcha. Hell yeah. So, but the only time I got that, but before we move on, because I don't want to dwell on this too long, but the only time I got that from the Migos album when I was listening was when I was listening to Vaccine. That's still my song. That shit is hard as hell, son. That shit is crazy.
I think you're gonna come around, bro. I'm
gonna try it. I'm gonna try it because I trust you.
Just wait. Don't rush. Definitely go see the Migos live. I think see them live is gonna make all the sense in the world to you. And that's the thing. Like, it's an outside album. That's what I had to learn, bro. I was listening to the Migos. My boy has a house with no furniture in it, nothing in it, right? So I'm just walking through the house playing the Migos, and it's just like, it's lively. I'm up. I'm excited. Like I could feel, it felt like boxing. It felt like, oh, the Migos are on like their toes. They're coming off the rope. They're a little worn, they're a little torn, but it can throw a punch. It can still punch. And that's the thing. It's like every punch is supposed to knock you out. I don't think every punch does it, but they throw it like it's supposed to. And I feel like once you see them live, you're gonna see how hard those punches really hit.
And this isn't just gonna be like the Travis Scott argument, right? Like you got to see him live before you get the music, because everybody's been telling me that.
No. Because Travis Scott is different. Travis Scott is literally taking chaotic energy and shooting it out to people. Like that's his whole stick. It's just like I'm going to create chaos. That's not the Migos. The Migos like I'm going to create a concert, a carnival. It's supposed to be fun. Travis Scott, you might leave with a bloody nose. Migos, you might leave with your wife. Like you might meet your wife at a Migos concert. You don't find some good weed. You don't get a good drink. Like it's going to be fun. Travis Scott, you might break a bone. Remember people jumping off of like balconies at Travis Scott shows?
I've seen all the videos, son.
Yeah. No, that's what people, they want you to go enter chaos and have fun. Like, no, I want to go to a concert and have a good time. No, and I like Travis. I like the Travis shows. I saw it from afar. I saw the mosh pits. It is an experience, but I think it's a different experience when you're selling chaos and you're selling a concert.
Yeah, and it's also a different experience when you have an identity, because Travis doesn't really have an identity. He's a chameleon, and the Migos are not. The Migos have an identity. They have like a thing they put forth, and that's why people are going to bat for them. Like they've been, like people are saying that they're washed up and nobody cares. Like they have an identity, and people really connect with that still. Like even if you're not seeing it online, niggas still connect with the Migos. It's like they really do. Like
it's real. And my thing is, I think when you're an original, sometimes it's very hard to keep people excited, because when you're a chameleon, you're constantly changing. You shape shifting. You can change styles. You can take whatever. But you gotta remember, Days Before Rodeo, Travis, there's all Atlanta on that album. Stug is Pee Wee Longway. It's the Migos. Like Travis knows where the sauce is. Travis can always go find the sauce. The Migos they are the sauce. We are the sauce. It's like, how do you make the sauce more spicy? How do you make the sauce more sweet? How do you make sure that sauce is covering everything that was going to make the meal pop? That's what they found out with Culture 3. They figured out how to make new sauce. I think that's my point of view with that album. It's like, oh, this is the sauce album. Versus Travis. Travis is just like every album can be a different album, because he's not the original. He is the chameleon. Like he's changing.
He's a Kanye baby. He's a
Kanye baby, right? And the Migos are like, this is gonna sound terrible, but they're more like Outkast. Yeah, I know, right? Like I know, like no one's gonna know. Like, I just lost everybody. Everyone's gonna start like, oh, the Migos like Outkast. Like you gotta think about it, like
this
Andre
podcast
and Big Boy
is sponsored by Coach K.
By Coach K. By QC. But not for real. It's just like, but I think every artist from Atlanta kind of comes from this sense of originality. Atlanta is like, the weirdest part about Atlanta personally, and this is like growing up just south of the city, but also like living in the city with music. Like if you want to go to a concert, you got to go to the city. You want to go see a studio, you got to go to the city. So like, I've been to the city so much. The thing that I realized the most is that no one from Atlanta wants to be a copy. No one, because everyone thinks I got more sauce than you, right? I'm more original than you. No one wants to be 22 Savage. Everyone wants to be 21.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like you want to be yourself the most in Atlanta. So I always feel like that's what Outkast did. Like they told us that we could be ourselves and that's okay. I think that's what the Migos does. The Migos is just themselves.
See, that doesn't sound stupid at all. Like not when you explain it. And that's one of the things I love about you, Yo, is that you take like you take these really complex, like cultural, like very specifically cultural ideas and just like boil them down so fast too. Like it's not even like you have to sit there and think about it. You just spit the shit out. And like that's always for real, like for real off the top. Like it's just like that's one thing that's always like, it's just crazy to see it happen like here and in real life. And like I was like, oh man, and like I was just wondering, like for you, like when you first decided to leave Olive Garden and really like say like, oh, I want to like, this is what I want to do. like what inspired you to, like we were talking about earlier, like fall through the floor and just do it? Because it wasn't the money. Like,
Well, two things. I had I had worked at a gas station before I went to Olive Garden. I quit that.
right.
And I quit that. I remember that day very specifically because I got into an argument with my manager. He told me I was a bad worker. And I was like, oh, that's what you think. So I came in the next day. I did everything perfectly, like perfectly. I had a perfect work day. And my supervisor was there that day. He was like, oh, yo, you did a great job today. And I was like, thank you. I quit. So, so as I'm walking out, I'm like, well, what are you going to do? Because you just quit your job that you had for a month. You had this job for 30 days. You just quit. So what are you going to do? And this is during the recession. So it took me a year to get the job. It took me 30 days to lose it. So now I was like, what are you going to do? And I was like, well, I'm going to be a music writer. So I had already made that decision before Olive Garden. When I got to Olive Garden, the music writer thing didn't work out. So I had to get another job. But by that time, I had been writing enough. I felt good that I was a good writer. So I was at Olive Garden for a year and a half, and I was still writing on the side. So by the time I quit Olive Garden, I thought I had enough, I'll say the word talent, because I don't have a better word for it. Because no one really taught me how to write. It's not like I went to a class and someone was like, okay, you do these things, you can be a music writer. Like I made all the choices myself. So realistically, I never felt like I was gonna fall to the floor. I never thought I was. I just thought that I had taught myself a skill that was good. And it's crazy because when I was writing before DJ Booth, I didn't have a lot of readers. It wasn't like someone was like, yo, you can write, you should do this. Like, nah, no one really told me that. I just believed it. I believed it so much so that I quit 2 jobs to do it. And by the time I quit Olive Garden, I'm not telling these people that I'm a writer. I'm just showing up to work every day saying I'm gonna quit soon. I would just be like, yeah, I'm gonna quit. I'm gonna quit. Even when I quit, it was so bad, they didn't hire no one in my position because they didn't believe me. Like I walked in, I wrote, I quit on a sticky note and put it on the host stand. And my boss was like, are you serious? I was like, yeah. And he was like, well, all right. Well, this is your 2 weeks then. Your 2 weeks start right now. I was like, okay. So the last day happened to be New Year's Eve. So they made me close. These horrible people forced me to close on my last day. But I'm glad
they out pettied you because you tried to out petty them and they out petted you.
That's the only thing I had to learn, bro. I'm petty, but I'm not that petty. Like you can out petty me for sure. But Dylan, as I'm walking up Olive Garden, I'm seeing fireworks. And that's when I knew I wasn't gonna fall to the floor because this is already brighter than where I was. And then I started working at DJ booth. So yeah, I guess it was never a thought. And that's the thing, like it's weird for me because it's not like I was walking around telling people I'm gonna be a writer, I'm gonna get a book. Like, nah, I was very quiet. Like, I was just like, I'm just gonna do it. I'm gonna keep doing it until it's done. That was it. It was just all about doing it. I didn't have no teachers. I didn't have no mentors. I didn't have no nothing. So I knew since I made the decision, at the end of the day, it was gonna be based on what I could make happen. It was either gonna be me or it. It was gonna work for me or it wasn't gonna work at all. And I was fine with that. I was fine if I put everything on my back versus like asking Holland, like, hey, Holland, can you teach me how to be a writer? Because then I could be like, if I fail, I could blame Holland. I could be like, well, Holland didn't teach me how to write well enough.
Right.
I fail. It's like, dang, bro, like, what went wrong? But I never thought I was gonna fail because I knew what I taught myself, and I knew that if I can just get far enough, and I totally understand why rappers take bad deals, because if you take a bad deal for platform, it's like I can outwork the bad deal. You just want a chance. 9 times out of 10, people just want a chance. That's all I was looking for was a chance. I got a chance, and now I'm talking to you.
And you're holding yourself accountable. Like that's the thing. Like accountability is the thing I'm getting from both of you, but especially you right now. Like you're holding yourselves accountable for what you want and what you need to do, and that means everything. Like
yes, sir.
Man, so you've I could sit here and list all the things that you've written that I love until like fucking 2 o'clock in the morning. But like, of all the things you've written, especially like for now, like the few things that are as affecting or timely as the thing you just wrote for Jeff Weiss's site, the Rap and Death piece. Like it's something that I feel like a lot of rap media people have been talking about for a really long time, but no one ever actually wrote like a piece about it before. Like just this, like especially recently, like over the course of the last like maybe 4 or 5 years, there's just been a lot of rap deaths, like just between Nipsey and Mac and Bankroll Fresh and China and Juice World and Pop. Like once again, the Pop Smoke. The list goes on forever, and you took it upon yourself to kind of just try to, like you do, boil this down to some like raw thoughts. And like, I guess what drove you to finally say, fuck it, I'm gonna write this? Like no one's done it before, or at least not that I've seen. Maybe somebody else has, but like what drove you to say, fuck it, I gotta write this?
Talking to our friend Crash.
Shout out to fucking Crash.
Michael Penn II, because we were having this constant conversation about rap being the Wild West. Like it just felt like outlaws and guns and death and girls and drugs and drinks and Porsches and horses. Like it's the Wild West. We are cowboys. So what's my man's name? King Von dies. So when King Von died, that's when it hit me. I was like, dang. And like I saw what happened to Von. And it was just so quick. It was so fast. And I saw like his album had just came out and he had passed. And I was like, okay. So then I started thinking about the idea. I mean, Crash was talking about it. I started writing the first like 500 words. And as I'm writing it, Crash texts me about Mo 3 dying. I'm like, are you serious? Like, there's no way. He's like, there's no way. So then I went to the gas station, right? Because I did all this writing. I went to the gas station. I got a Red Bull. And the cashier's playing Pop Smoke, who was like just murdered. And I was like, dang. Like everywhere you go, bro, you can hear a ghost talking. Like I just felt like I was just all these ghosts, all of these men who are not here no more. You hear Juice WRLD everywhere. You just like there's an energy about it. So I wrote the first draft in November and I just put it away because I didn't love it. I thought it was good, but I didn't think it was great. Then Vino died. Vino from North Carolina died.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, 18 Vino.
18 Vino died. That's when I wrote the second half of the paper. I woke up to text messages about Vino passing. I was just like, what?
And Fuck Rap was one of my favorite songs of last year. Sorry, I had to say that. He was
so hard.
He was crazy.
And man, it was just one of those things where, so I wrote like the second half of the piece, and then I was just like tweaking it for like months, just like tweaking it. I just, it was the first piece I had where I didn't have a date where it was due. So I just kept working at it. I sent Jeff Weiss the draft. And he was like, all right, yo, you got some good 2-pointers that can be 3-pointers. I just want to get you the 3s. And I was like, all right. So I took his edits. I kept working at it. I sent it back to him and he was like, yep, this is it. This is it. And that felt so good because I respect Jeff. To me, you talk about a writer with a voice, talk about an artist, you talk about creative. Like Jeff Weiss is all encompassing of everything. Like he is someone, I don't idolize people, but like if there was a writer to look at and be like, this is what you want to do to be a writer, you gotta look at Jeff Weiss. Because like, bro, he covers everything immaculately. And he does it in his voice. It's always a Jeff Weiss piece. From the moment you read it, from Isaiah Rashad to Kobe Bryant, no matter what it is, he is going to give you a Jeff Weiss piece.
And
So
like from everywhere, like he
remember,
like it's like he's lived everywhere. If he writes about Texas, it's like he's from Texas. Chicago
yeah,
is like he's like he wrote about acid rap when it first came out for Pitchfork, and like he was dropping like local references. I'm like, how the fuck do you know what this is? Like, I'm almost afraid to have him come to Jersey, because if he starts talking about like the TikTok diner, I'm gonna be like, you been
man.
here? Like,
And
like
I don't know how bro does it, cause like we all got Google, bro, but his stuff don't feel like it's Googled. It feels like it's lived. Like
yeah.
he's telling you about it being there. It's so bizarre how good he is. So I was always excited about my first POW piece, and that's the thing. I wasn't going to pitch Jeff anything that wasn't going to be special. Like I knew when I had this idea that I needed an editor. I think, man, I feel like in every role in your life you need an editor. Everything, and we should copy edit Instagram posts. Like you need a copy editor for everything, because it just allows you a second eye. And I knew with the piece I had, I needed a special eye. I just needed someone who like gets rap, who understands dev, who understands like everything that I was encompassing. And he just got, and like, again, it's like the piece is in two sectors, it's two sections. So like, it's always it's a little weird, it's a little strange, but I knew POWs where you go to get a little weird, to get a little strange, and to just like break all the rules. He just gave me like this perfect avenue for it. And I just got an email about that piece. I'm gonna text you, and you're gonna be like, "Oh shit!" Like that's what that piece did. Because that's how I felt. I was like, "Man, I'm so glad I wrote it, and it came out the way it did, because I just got the validation." Like sometimes validation for me isn't how many people click something. It isn't how many people read something. It's about how many people react to something. And sometimes you just need one good reaction, Dylan, to know that like that's why you wrote it. Like you wrote it because it needed to be said, and it had a ripple effect in the world. And I just got my confirmation about that one in particular. Yesterday, I just got it yesterday, so I'm gonna send it to you right now. And I still gotta like
ripple effect is such a good way to put it too, because it's like you only create a ripple effect when you say something that's like weighty enough to create such a thing.
Exactly.
Say
that. Son.
The thing I was talking about earlier is like the way things connect in unforeseen ways when you put something out into the world. But it's like, it's got to have that heft to it as well. You can't just put anything out into the world.
Much needed.
Right. Yeah. And that's kind of where the intersection of just like rap journalism and something like rap portraits kind of comes into play, because like video and written journalism have had an interesting relationship for a very since fucking music started being covered on cameras, really. But like especially now, especially in the age of YouTube and all this other shit. So like for the both of you, this is one of my last two questions for you. What are some of the similarities and differences between these two different types of journalism that you've kind of both noticed since starting Rap Portraits last year?
You want to go first?
With it, like, what have we seen in the context of the world of like video journalism, or what? How do you mean? Sorry.
Just in the sense that like I guess in the sense of like, how would you say creating an episode of Rap Portraits is similar or different to writing a 1,200 word piece?
If that makes sense. Written 1,200 words of anything.
No. Holland does not tell the truth. He can write. He's a good writer, by the way.
Yeah.
Your script is good, but like your personal essays are also good. Like I don't know why I'm doing all this writing for a Viewfinder when he can write.
Yeah, like not even like specifically about writing a 1,200 word piece, but like writing in general, because it's all a process.
I was about to say, like, to me, Rap Portraits are cover stories. They're just cover stories. We synthesize the same amount of information about an artist, about a person, the same way that you synthesize the information when you're doing an interview. All right, like when you're writing a piece, if it's not a Q&A, if it's a profile style piece, you're trying to take the audience from point A to point Z, right? And you're trying to create this character with this artist who is going to have all the lines, the spotlights on them, and you need to get across to the audience who this person is. That's what we do with Rap Portraits. We get that across. When we was cutting and editing the movies, I was really like, oh yeah, this is a cover story. Because the way from, hey, it's Mavi, like from the moment it starts, he introduces himself We got a setting, we got a mission, and as we're going throughout the day, we never leave the audience behind. You are following a story in motion. So by the time you get to the end, and like even subtly, we reference the concert the entire time. Every room, every space, he mentions this concert. Oh, the sold out show. Like we never take our eyes off the show. It's always there. And I feel like with journalism, you've got to have a through line. Like you got to have something to keep people engaged throughout the entire piece. So our through line was the concert, but also got this blue bag, right? This bag is rolling with them. So you see the bag, it becomes a bag, it becomes a character. Like everything moves, everything's alive. And I feel like that's what we can't do sometimes in journalism, is like capture all the motion in a day, because you have like a word count, you have like a framework that you have to operate around. But this, oh, bro, we create the frame. We know we only got like 8 or 9 minutes, but it moves. The entire thing moves. So because we can do that, I can show you things I can't show you in the piece. I can show you things that I could not write in the piece. And even like the places Holland would get a camera at would be off the record, right? Someone would be like, oh, I'll tell you this off the record. Holland gets cameras in the places where it should be off the record. The entire thing, that first meeting with the booking agent, bro, I have never seen anyone have a meeting with a booking agent before.
Ever.
I remember I sent it to one of my boys, Ryan, and he was like, bro, how'd y'all get in there? I said, bro, I don't know how he did it. But the same thing, like when we went to the house, the sign for the house, so the lawyers, the people who owned the house before, the rapper, his lady, all of them are in the room, right? There's not enough seats for me, so I leave. Holland's in there shooting the entire time. Like, we know way too much about home ownership from that experience, but it's because they never told him to cut the camera off. They would have told me like, hey, you can't write that. Like if I would be in there taking notes, they would be like, hey, no, sir, like you can't reference that. You know, that's off the record. So I feel like that's like the biggest difference for me is that film, when done correctly, maybe we gotta cut this out because I don't need people looking at him and be like, hey, don't record this. But like I need access. The camera, like this thing can get access so fast, faster than I can type. So that's the thing about this journalism. This is a little bit more human. Journalism has to be edited. It has to be sculpted. It's sculpture. Like we're sculpting. This right here is like childbirth. We're giving you the real.
So that's the end. We're giving you the real.
I have no more thoughts.
That was like an ellipses.
Oh no.
Wow.
Now I figured out. Okay.
Yeah, that was
my
the
perspective,
past, bro.
coming at it from a narrative perspective, maybe where it veers from journalism for me is that I'm like not nearly as interested in sort of like the expository information when we're putting these together. So Yoh often like has an ear and an eye for just quotes that are interesting in and of themselves and will like really want to put those in the film. And to me, I come from a place where I'm like, dude, if it doesn't specifically relate to, in the case of Mavi, like Mavi in his first show, like it doesn't belong in the film because it's like I'm thinking in terms of like narrative and I'm thinking in terms of the action. And Yoh, like his brain works a little bit differently where he's thinking more journalistically. So I think that with rap portraits specifically, because we have this like verite approach to it, we're not asking people to talk to camera. Like Yoh isn't really like sitting them down for an interview or anything like that. We get a lot of sort of really natural reactions that tell you a lot about an artist where like maybe Yoh would have to kind of like paint a picture using like your craft and technique, where we can just like put a camera on like Mavi listening to a booking agent and you like really learn a lot about his position like with respect to the world. It's like, oh, this is his first thing. You can kind of sense he's a little bit like new and like nervous to this thing. Like we don't have to say anything. I could put a camera on him for 10 seconds and you like understand all of that stuff. But then where Yoh will interject with journalism is like, dude, this is like paints this quote right here about Mavi talking about how like the subway system is like inherently racist. Like you need to put that in because that paints a picture of like who Mavi is as a character, as a person. And so I think the blend of those two things where it really like feels like a film that has a narrative, but also has like the expository character building information that Yoh has a real ear for. an eye for is like the middle ground in which you get kind of the rap portraits, which is why hopefully it feels something a little bit more filmic than your sit down. This is why you need to know this artist. This is why this artist is important thing. It's a little bit away from that, I guess.
Right.
Yeah.
No, totally. And that really comes through, and everything you just said reminded me of this. I'm trying to remember who said this, but like when somebody made a film version of Cormac McCarthy's The Road, and somebody else reviewed it, and they were talking about how like Cormac McCarthy's writing style is like very dry and very like he describes things, but it's like super dry and not like very colorful. But like you look at the way that he'll like describe a post-apocalyptic wasteland on the page, and then you watch the movie and you see all of that in a second. Like 3 full pages of description can be shown on screen in 4 seconds.
Yes.
Right. And like finding that balance and like, having found that balance is what makes a project like Rap Portraits so unique to me, especially in the field of like modern video journalism, for sure.
Thank you, man.
Thank you, bro.
Thanks, Dylan.
It definitely feels like
Dylan, you should review one time.
I was about to say I want
if you're
Dylan,
gonna speak this nicely about it.
I want Dylan to review all the Rap Portraits, like keep doing movie reviews. Like if we can get a movie review from Dylan on every Rap Portrait, I would be happy.
I mean, if y'all want it.
Yeah, so you can do a newsletter. Like review was not newsletter.
And then we'll make a film about you doing your podcast.
Yes. Yes.
In my fucking closet and shit.
I already have footage. So
we've also been recording. There's
cameras everywhere. But yeah,
I love it.
Like, I feel like when they were doing a conversation about pivoting the video, it never made sense to me because I never thought that journalism could be video, because it's like the reason why me and Holland work the way we do is because his camera's small. He's like able to move around. I describe it as a cat. Like he's very swift. He can get into places and you sort of forget he's there. Sometimes he's just like so quiet that you don't even think about he's in the room. And like that's a skill I can't teach somebody. Like if I try to have a crew of 4 or 5 cameras, bro, you know you're being recorded. But if I have one guy in the room with a tiny camera who you forget that he's there, he's going to get you being yourself, because you're going to take off the cool, you're going to take off the star, and you're going to strip down to yourself because you feel comfortable enough in that. So when I realized it, I was like, oh, okay, that's why we have to do this with rappers, because their whole thing is putting on cool. Like the entire art form is about putting on cool. So like we're trying to take the cool off a bit.
And that's when you get those moments. And I think like the thing, I was speaking of the differences in perspective between you and I, but I think the thing that ties us together too is that we both really have the sense for moments and like a sense of the poetry of it a little bit, and like sort of can think a little bit more abstractly about everything too, and try to represent that, you know, cinematically in the films too. So it's not like straight journalism really.
He's not scared of the abstract, which I like. Like Holland's an artist. Like he's extremely artistic. Like that's what I like about him. He wants to be a filmmaker, but he also wants to be an artist filmmaker. He wants to make art. I want to make art, and art isn't always straightforward. Sometimes it's a little bit more abstract. And just like the ideas that we come up with, even things that you'll see when we roll out the next Rap Portrait coming out on Sunday, Father's Day, is that like even the ideas that we come up with for things is just a little bit more. It's not even creative. It's just more abstract. And it's not even about it being super successful. Holland be like, you think this is cool? I'm like, I think this is cool. And we'll try it. Like, that's it. He's not afraid to try things. And I think that is like very important being an artist. You gotta try some shit.
Right. And I'm really glad you ended that thought on that note, because the very last question I have for you both is like, so I was talking to Yoh, me and Yoh's boy Ryan, who works over at Audio.
Ryan.
a couple of days ago.
Oh, I know
and
Ryan. I met Ryan.
Oh, okay. You know, Ryan. Of course you do. What the
new
fuck am I
boy.
talking about? What the fuck am I talking? Yeah. No, of course. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
No, I met him at the Mavi one actually.
Right.
The Mavi
Yeah.
Special
I should
day,
have.
man.
I'm telling you, I should have thought about that because we were all there. That place was packed. Holy shit. So I was talking with Ryan a couple days ago, and he was talking to me about Real Notes and just what was going on with that. And he mentioned to me that he feels like we're in the new blog era, in the sense that like the blog like blogs have kind of died, and or if they haven't died, they don't mean what they once meant, right? And at this point in a lot of our lives, like a lot of creatives and a lot of writers and a lot of filmmakers and directors and artists of all stretches are kind of taking the reins of this music thing, of this music documentation thing, and creating their own platforms. Like we got, I got Real Notes. Y'all have Rap Portraits. Like EVA has a Maka Studio. Crash has Good Convo. Ayana, another one of our friends, has Brainwash Media. My girl Jordan Ash has True to Us. Like we're creating these spaces that we grew up with, and kind of like
that's fire.
Making a push for it in that, and just like kind of bringing it back to what we loved about what this is. And I guess my last question for you both is: do you feel like you're participating in a new blog era? And if so, how do you feel these new outlets will carry on that tradition? And if not, what role do you feel that platforms like, I guess, ours will play in the media landscape going forward?
Can I start?
Yeah, that's a Yoh question for sure.
It's crazy, Dylan. I never thought about us as like a media company. I never really thought about us being like in a scene, in a moment, in a time. Like I feel like me and Holland, we feel like we just are kind of like stepped out of everything and kind of just created this thing to be what we envisioned it to be. So you're the first person that made me even think about like, damn, are we a part of something? And if we are, I love that I'm a part of it with you and with the EVAs and with the Ayanas and with those people because, man, I'm a big fan of the Beat generation, the Jack Kerouacs, Allen Ginsberg, like, Cassidy, all those guys. And it was a generation. It was a movement of young writers who ushered in a new way of thinking about writing about poetry, thinking about writing. Like Kerouac took the commas out. Like, you got no commas in your writing, bro? Like, how did you get away with that? No editor. Imagine trying to send that to an editor at Rolling Stone. He's going to laugh at you, bro.
Right.
So I've always been interested in being in that. So let's say that we are. I feel like what Rap Portraits is going to do and what our goal has always been is to be that documentation for rap. Like, we want to capture what rap is, like, in the moment. Rap history, right? Rap history in the moment. That's all we want to do. And I think that everyone is essentially capturing history. Like the way you document is capturing history. The way EVA writes is capturing history. The way Ayana writes, like everyone's capturing history. And I feel like if you join all of these platforms together, what you're going to see is the 2010s and the 2020s, what it looked like, what it felt like, what it smelled like, what it tastes like, all of that. We're going to collectively create what the history book. We're going to make the history book. But I also feel like we're running our own race. For real, like we're not even looking at what's beside us or what's behind us or what anyone else is doing. Like we're so focused on us, bro. And it's just because we're busy. It's not because it's like, oh, fuck everybody else. Like, no, bro.
No, of course.
I don't even have time to look at what anyone else is doing. I wish I did because I'll probably be excited about it. But nah, man, like the way me and Holland work, but Hoop Portraits, like it's so cool. The Rap Portraits creates Hoop Portraits. Now my man is busy. He's super busy.
Oh, he everywhere. We already know that.
But I love it though. Well, I love it. He might not.
Yeah, he might have some feelings.
I love that, like, we're producing ideas. That's how you become a conglomerate. Like, if we end up doing like NFL portraits, I don't think we can. We don't got time for it. But if we did, it's like, oh wow, this thing is a world that's expanding. So I hope at the very end of our run, whenever that will be, that we look like a world and not like a moment. Because it's like,
right.
If you're a world, people can live there, they can move there, they can live with you. But when you're a moment, it happens so fast that they can forget you. And like we're not in the business of being forgotten.
Right. And like me saying all of that before isn't even to like gas us up in any sort of like ridiculous like we're the next coming, but like
I feel you because like there was a point in time with like Two Dope Boys on Smash.
All right,
my guys in All Right, like DJ Booth, everyone was like kind of operating by themselves. Pigeons and Planes, shout out to my man Jacob.
Yep. Shout out to Jacob.
They were just operating, but because they were kind of like creating in the same space in the same field, that creation created a conglomerate. Like we're a community now. So we are building communities. Everyone you named, I know, and everyone you're in community with. I'm in community with. Like we went to Tulsa. You know what I'm saying? We met everybody at Tulsa. More journalists that we in community with. I was just with Christina Lee the other day.
Hey, shout out to Christina.
With Yoh, who's at Boss Up. Like I definitely feel in community. I just think of everyone as my friends. I don't think about us being like the new frontier, the new vanguards. I don't think of us like that. But you know, in 20 years, when they're asking like who did what, they might have to talk about us because we did it.
Exactly.
So I'm hoping that. Yeah, and I'm hoping that that's what happens. I hope that we all get a chance to run our race, and that at the end of the race, we all get trophies. I want all my boys and all my girls to get trophies because I think we all deserve it.
For real, I agree, 100%. I'm just so happy to like be like here running next to anybody, like regardless of how we look at each other.
I'm glad I'm running, bro. I got legs.
Yeah, same.
Like, it work. Why not run, man? But yeah, I think it was a good question.
Thank you. Holland, do you have anything you want to add to that before we wrap this up?
No, I'm gonna let Yoh speak for both of us on that one. That was a great answer.
All right. Damn. Well, that's it. I don't have any other questions. Thank y'all, man. Like, wow.
Pleasure, Dylan. Great to talk to you.
Bro. Come on now.
Yeah.
The long form. We're three long form dudes.
We're three long form dudes.
We are three long form dudes. Dylan
can't call me without talking for almost 2 hours.
Yes.
Like, we can't even have
We're long form dudes in a short form world.
Man. You do got more shit to say. What are you talking about?
Oh my God. On my arm.
Oh my God. Thanks for listening. Shout out to y'all for making it this far. And shout out to all the Black people listening too, because y'all really impeccable. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and tell a friend to come through next time. 1.